Hello guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Mount Lady had a crush on Deku the moment she saw him, Harem, part 2. So before we start, go check out the author of this fanfic Thicc, link is in the description, also subscribe to our channel, and like this video, so let's begin the video. Knock knock, give me a moment please. The voice of a man replied from the other side of the door. With that Izuku waited patiently. It has been a day since the boy saved Yubawami from that incident. And, as expected, his mom freaked out when she saw the bruise on his back. The best excuse he came up with was I fell while running. It was simple, but technically not a lie. He promised to be more careful next time, after all, he didn't like to see his mother's worried look, so it was best that he didn't tell her about what really happened. The sound of the door finally opened, bringing him back to reality. At the other side of the door was a man in his 40s, the man had short black hair, he was wearing a pretty common outfit of a plain blue t-shirt and yellow cargo pants, but the feature that stood out the most was the eyes behind his glasses, the man sported the same yellow eyes of his daughter. Good afternoon, Hatsune-san. Izuku greeted the man with a polite smile. Good afternoon, Midoriya-kun. The man smiled back. Please, come in. He stepped aside, leading the boy inside the house, taking off his shoes and walking barefoot. He keeps his feline paws clean so there is no problem with that. The atmosphere inside of the house was always pleasant for Izuku. Would you like some tea? The man offered it to his guest. Oh, don't worry about it, but thanks. The boy politely dismissed it. Though here is something for you. Midoriya reached inside the plastic bag he had been carrying. The man accepted the present. He wasn't surprised at all when said present came to be a chocolate bar. Thank you very much, Midoriya-kun. But I have to say, aren't you spoiling my baby girl too much? That caught the greenhead off guard. Seeing his reaction, the man couldn't help but let out a calm sigh while a smile appeared on his face. He seriously hasn't noticed it. The man already knew how kind-hearted the boy in front of him was, but there had to be a limit in how selfless someone could be. You always bring chocolates whenever you come here, Midoriya-kun. I know these are her favorites, but still, she might gain some weight if you keep this up. The man said with a chuckle. Oh, I'm sorry, I just always think she might need the energy to continue building more devices. And don't worry about her weight, building stuff is a great workout, Mei has a great body because of that. Izuku said with a smile, trying to reassure the father. So my daughter has a great body? The older man made an emphasis on what the boy said, with a mischievous smirk on his face. Noticing what he said, Izuku's face exploded in a flash. I didn't mean that at all. No, she has a great body, but I wasn't talking when Midoriya entered in panic mode trying to clarify the misunderstanding, yet he ended up digging deeper into his own grave. I'm just messing with you, Midoriya-kun. Mei's father laughed at the poor boy. Yeah. Izuku said with a blush still on his cheeks. Well, I won't entertain you anymore. Mei is in her workshop, as always. If you need anything, I will be in my room doing taxes, Midoriya-kun. The man held his hand high as he went upstairs leaving the teenager alone. When the older man finally left Izuku's sight, Midoriya moved his right hand to his face and let out a sigh. I seriously need to pay more attention to what I'm saying. He said in his mind, as a reminder. Well, you weren't lying about her body though. Nico appeared in his mind. Not helping. He dismissed her words and moved to Mei's workshop. The green-haired boy opened the door gently, already hearing the familiar sound of sparks that were so common in this place. When he finally entered, he immediately spotted the pink head working on something on one of the tables, her trademark goggles already on. Izuku smiled at that as he made his way to her. Hey Mei. He greeted and waited for her to acknowledge his presence. 10 seconds later she stopped for a second just to continue on her project afterward. Hey Izu. How is your training going? She had a big grin on her face. Izuku knew she asked that more out of courtesy than actual interest, although it made him happy anyway. Great. He already knew how Mei was when she was in inventor mode. Her attention was limited, so a short and concise answer was the best. What are you working on? Now, talking about her inventions was a whole other story. I'm working on support boots. They will help with mobility and speed, allowing the user to keep energy for any task while they can concentrate on other subjects. They're going to be great babies. Mei began to talk enthusiastically, as ever. Can I help with anything? Izuku asked, putting the plastic bag filled with chocolate bars on the table next to her. Ah, the other boot needs the final touches and calibrations. She pointed at the boot next to her. There are instructions, so be a good dad and help me finish it. Yeah. Whatever you say, honey. Izuku had gotten used to her calling him dad and referring to the gadgets as babies that he just played along, as if they were a family. Nevertheless, he was happy that she considered him as a right hand, giving him a small task to ease her burden, even if just a little. Taking the paper with the instructions, he moves around the workshop to pick the necessary tools for his task, along with his goggles, and puts them on. They're the same as the ones that Mei wore, but instead of red, they were green. After taking everything he needed, Izuku sat down next to Mei and began to work on their baby. The instructions were quite simple, but Izuku was just a novice when it came to robotics and all. Mei would take probably 15 minutes to do what he was instructed. To him, it would take double the amount of time if he was lucky, if not, probably an hour. The last thing he wanted was to screw things up just because he wanted to finish quickly, so he always took his time on this. 15 minutes have passed, and only the sound of sparks echoed the workshop. They haven't exchanged words with one another. It's pointless when they're working on something, and Izuku might not notice, but he too entered what he called inventor mode, where the completion of the gadget was everything that mattered. Although in his unconscious state, Izuku's body still reacted to what he needed, and right now a little bit of energy was what his brain needed. Though his hands were occupied at the moment, it was in these cases when having an extra limb came in handy. His black tail moved to the plastic bag that was placed between the two teens and grabbed a chocolate bar. The feline tail normally cannot do this, but the difference between a normal feline and Izuku was that he was still part human. He had trained his tail rigorously to at least do these small tasks. Now with a bar of chocolate on his tail, he moved it to his feet, where he extended one claw and with a swift move, opened the wrapper. Believe it or not, this was part of his training. Doing tasks that required surgical precision helped with more control over his body. Finally, he took the bar to his mouth. Izuku doesn't have to worry about touching something with his tail. Due to the perks of being a feline, he takes his hygiene very seriously. He then opened his mouth, showing his impressive set of teeth, and took a bite of the sweet goodness. The workshop was filled with the sweet essence of chocolate that assaults Mei's nostrils. The smell of her favorite snack startled her for a moment, causing a bigger smile to appear on her face. Aizu, Choco. Her command was barely registered by Izuku's mind, making his tail move the chocolate bar in front of the pink hair's face as she instinctively opened her mouth to take a bite. It was at that moment that his actions fully hit Izuku. Ah, Mei, wait, I already took in a panic. Midoriya tried to stop his partner, but it was too late. She already closed her teeth over the snack, just over where he bit before her. His cheeks turned red as he saw the indirect kiss happening in front of his eyes. But then he just remembered who he was, making him let out a sigh. What am I worrying about? She doesn't care about this kind of stuff. He reminded himself as he turned back to his work, just in time to not see how a very distinct tone of pink sprouted on Mei's cheeks. Izuku also didn't notice that Mei stopped her work for several minutes, frozen in place. Half an hour had passed. It's finished. Mei exclaimed, holding her boot up in the air like it was a newborn baby. Did you finish, Aizu? He took his goggles off, giving her a smile. Yes, I just did too. Then who is going to test them? She asked enthusiastically. Let me go for my shoes so I can do it. He responded as he left the workshop. A couple of minutes later, Izuku was ready with the support boots on. Okay Aizu, are you ready? Mei had a remote on her hands that was going to start the boots. She was barely restraining herself from pressing the button. Yeah, ready. Giving her the green light, Mei finally pressed the damn button. The turbines in the boot sole started to spin, making Izuku levitate a few inches from the ground. Seeing her success, Mei's face couldn't become brighter. Neat, so far so good. Nico's voice echoed in his head. Oh my god, you just didn't, and just like a very bad omen, the boots began to make weird noises. Oh. The turbines went all out, and in a matter of seconds Izuku's shoulders crashed against the ceiling, making a crack on it. Mei, turn it off. The pink head was already pressing the button repeatedly. It's not working. She shouted in panic. Where is the manual switch? This situation wasn't the worst that he had been when testing one of Mei's inventions. But it was a great example of why he preferred to do the testing himself, instead of letting Mei do it. Besides, it was for this that he's here anyway. On the heels. Press them together. She informed him. Izuku extended the claws on his hands and then hit the ceiling, nailing them to the concrete. With that done, he began to move the boots so the heels facing each other. He moved them slowly. If any of the boots moved in a bad angle, he would lose control. After an arduous effort, Midoriya managed to hit the two buttons on the heels. The gadget slowly went to a stop, leaving him hanging from his claws. Hatsune let out a sigh in relief, but then, a big question mark popped up in her head as she looked back at Izuku. He raised his own body to the ceiling level. He just has to retract his claws to get out. Why is he doing that? It was when he had his body flat against the ceiling that he retracted them, leaving himself to fall. However, instead of landing on his feet, the team landed on his hands, putting a great effort to keep the boots from touching the ground. It was an amazing physical prowess, but why? From his position, he slowly put the boots down. Amazing, Aizu. But why did you? If I land on our babies with all my weight from up there, I might damage something else on the inside, and that would mean more work for you. And we don't want that, right? He turned his head at her with a warm smile. He then faced the other way to begin taking the boots off, carefully. Mei felt warm on the inside as she let out a smirk. Izuku always did this, thinking first of others, always trying everything to help her. She had asked him to be the test subject for her babies out of a whim, yet now she couldn't any longer see herself working with someone else. Mei felt at peace whenever he acted like this. Well, I'll have to check the whole structure to spot where it failed, Mei said while holding a boot. You can go home, Izu. I'll take care of. What are you talking about? Izuku interrupted her again. Knowing you, you'll stay all night fixing them. Ah, that reminds me. Mei, when was the last time you slept? His eyes narrowed accusingly, staring at the bag under her red cracked eyes. 12 in the morning. Izuku looked at the clock, it was 7 p.m. That was a lot of time. Monday. A glass broke inside his head when he heard that. Today was Saturday. Me? He immediately raised his voice. I know, but there are so many babies waiting for me to create them. Yeah. I don't want to hear it. He grabbed her by the shoulder and started to push her in the direction of the work table. The sooner you fix them, the sooner you'll go to sleep. Izuku wasn't going to stop her. The last time he did that, she didn't sleep at all because she kept thinking about her baby. He also was very unlucky that the gadget had failed. The only one who learned from the failure of the babies was Mei, not him, so he couldn't give her a hand on this. While she worked on it, he went to do something useful. 15 minutes later. Izuku entered the workshop again with a tray in his hands. Mei. He called her name to get her attention. I know what I said, but drop that for a little. I made sandwiches with some tea. I gave some to your father, but there is still plenty for us, so come and eat. He had been learning how to cook with his mother recently, nothing too fancy, but at least something good enough to fill the stomach. Hatsum opened her mouth and stood like that, waiting for him as she continued working on the boots. Cold sweat ran down his forehead. No, Mei. I'm not going to feed you. Stop. No, I'm serious, Mei. Just drop whatever you're doing for a few minutes and eat them. He kept refusing her demands. Seriously, Mei. I refuse to. You can't make me. Okay, fine. You win. Happy Izuku let out a groan as he approached her. Now I see what your father meant by saying I'm spoiling you too much. He muttered that. Midoriya took his sandwich and moved it next to her mouth for her to chew. When the first one was gone, he picked up the glass of tea. Drink. You're lucky that I picked a straw for you. He was lying to himself. Deep down in his subconscious he knew this was a possible outcome, so he unconsciously picked a straw for her. Mei drank it happily, although unbeknown to her, her cheeks were displaying a tone of pink that Izuku easily spotted. I hope she doesn't have a fever. Almost 7 days without sleeping can wreak havoc on the body. His emerald eyes simply looked at her with worry. Smile, well, it can't be helped when it comes to her. And he couldn't help but admire her resolve. I should give my everything to achieve my dream too. In the next hours she worked on their baby. Izuku spent them cleaning the workshop, organizing tools, classifying other gadgets between failures and successes, and even repairing the ceiling. 4 hours had passed since Mei started to repair the boots when she finally did it. Izuku had been suspended in the air for 15 minutes doing different stuff. It was now clear that this was a big success. He took them off and put them with the other babies. Mei was trembling on the spot. Yeah. We did it. She shot her arms in the air. It's almost 12. He whispered, snapping his head at her. But what he saw made his heartbeat raise to the skies. How could it not, seeing her fall backward unconscious? Literally in less than a second Izuku was already next to her, catching her before she touched the floor and landing on his knees with alarm in his eyes. Hey Mei. What happened? Are you okay? A little tear was starting to appear in his eye, but then he heard it. Pant the greenhead tried to regain his breath. He didn't realize he had stopped breathing since he saw her fall unconscious. Damn it, Mei, one of these days you're going to give me a heart attack. With tears of relief, he clutched her body as he touched his forehead against hers. He had noticed this before, how he became more physically affectionate since he got his quirk. After all, felines tend to communicate more through their body language and physical contact. Izuku is wary of this and tries not to do it, but in situations like these, it's hard to control something that was implanted deep in his core. Right now he didn't care. He was too emotionally invested trying to convince himself that Mei wasn't Nico, that she wouldn't disappear too. During these months of training he appeared to everyone else that he had toughened up, however on the inside, he was still far too weak, far too fragile. Carrying Mei bridal style, Izuku left the workshop and went upstairs just to find that her father was still awake. Seeing how happy his daughter was in his arms, he couldn't help but smile. Thanks, Midoriya-kun. I'll accompany you to her room. Thanks. She scared the hell out of me. She fell asleep just as we finished with the gadget. May never does that. She always had more energy to at least go to her room. The teen informed the older man. And who do you think is responsible for that? Being so dependable. The father thought with a smirk on his face. Ah, by the way, your mother called here early. I told her you'll stay the night here. You can use the guest room in front of May's. Smile. Thank you very much, Hatsune-san. Mom tends to worry about me. Izuku said. Don't worry, it is our job as parents to get worried about our kids. With a peaceful semblance, the man glanced at his daughter. You actually helped me a lot by keeping May in check, so let me say it again. Thank you very much, Izuku Midoriya. He repeated himself as they stopped next to May's room door. Her room wasn't like any girl's room. It was decorated with a lot of her babies and blueprints of babies yet to come. Overall, it was very May Hatsune if he had to put it in words. There you go. He put her down gently over her bed. Izuku sat next to her, giving her his back. Don't scare me like that again. He murmured. Then, suddenly, he felt something grab his shirt from behind. Whoa. He was pulled to the bed. When the green head realized he was in May's arms, she was hugging him like a teddy bear, teddy cat. His face got crimson. Oh, my whole reaction was from her father. Sir, can you help me? Izuku pleaded in a low tone. May was still asleep after all. I'm afraid there might be a problem with that. The father informed the panicking boy. Why? Izuku asked nervously, trying to ignore 2 rounds and soft masses on his back, but then. Because May is constantly building gadgets, her arms are quite strong, and now one of those strong arms was strangling his neck, yet, like if that wasn't enough. Crack, the other arm snapped his head in another direction. What's happening? He was in alarm. You see, even when she's asleep, my daughter is still. The man tried to explain. But baby May sleep-talked softly. Wait, that's impossible, right? She can't possibly be. Izuku's concern grew by the second. Mommy is going to take care of you. As May said the last word, she snapped his head and strangled him even harder. She is totally building a baby in her dreams, he shouted, the undeniable fact in his head as he feared for dear life. Izzy, you help me. Those words surprised the father. He has already made a spot in her subconscious. It was the first time he heard her say somebody's name in her sleep. Not even him or her mother had that privilege. He would be lying if he said he wasn't a little jealous. A&D, that confirms it. Sorry Midoriya-kun, it's impossible for me to get you out of there. The dread on the boy's eyes almost made him laugh. The only way for you to get out of her grip is through an equivalent exchange, and I'm afraid there's nothing in this house that meets the requirements for that. What's that supposed to mean? Izuku whispered, getting a little angry that he was being abandoned in such a predicament. Also, this is not alchemy, this is May we're talking about. I will pray for you. May's father saluted him as he slowly closed the door, seeing for the last time how his daughter snapped the boy's neck one more time. Needless to say, Izuku didn't sleep that night. Izuku was at the gym. The clock on the wall was reaching 7 in the evening, and he had been there since 12 p.m. The boy was lucky that the gym was empty, except for the manager in his office. Seriously, that old dude doesn't even acknowledge his presence, because right now he was a mess, his breathing was erratic, and there wasn't an inch of his clothes that weren't drenched by sweat. He was hot, and not the sexy kind of hot, he was literally burning to the point that if someone poured water onto his body, it would become steam right away. Why was he like this? Because his mind was replaying the same scene of May falling down unconscious and then being overlapped by Nico's death. It put him in a certain mood. No one else is going to die. I'll work harder. I'll protect everyone. He repeated his mantra again. With a smile. Izuku almost shouted as he raised his head with a ferocious smile on it. Yes, it was a sad scene, a torment to think of his best friend dying, but it was a strong motivation. He would mask his fears with that smile and work to prevent such an outcome. His entire body was burning in pain, yep, it was the perfect moment to stop for today. Just as he gulped his entire bottle of water, his ears caught the sound of the entrance door opening. His emerald eyes snapped in its direction just to see the only other person who comes to this gym, that bulky man known as Death Arms. Seeing him always puts a smile on the teen's face, and well, he hasn't seen him since the burning building incident 2 days ago. Izuku approached the huge man. Hey Death Arms. How's it going? The pro hero finally noticed the kid. Ah, hey, Midoriya. Doing fine, a lot of work, but nothing much, so you're still here at this hour. Nice. It was when the boy was next to him that his eyes widened. Jesus Christ, Kitty shouted in his head in surprise, and who could blame him? Midoriya's muscles were trembling and looked like they could explode at any time. You overdid it again, I see. I got more motivation than usual. Izuku scratched the back of his head. Hey. But suddenly his attitude changed. You were amazing 2 days ago. You're so strong, holding an entire building. It's incredible. His fanboy personality came to the surface. It wasn't much, seriously. I just put pressure into one point of the building. The pro hero was embarrassed by the praise. The others did more amazing things than me. No. It was because of you that they had the necessary time to save everyone. Izuku wasn't going to let him take away his own merit. But how did you do that? He was truly curious about it. Well, it may not sound really heroic, Death Arm said, regaining his composure. I study a little of architecture, nothing that impressive. Izuku froze. Amazing. He shouted, all his tiredness was shoved away. Using something as normal as that and applying it to a hero job. I can't believe you thought of something like that. Boy. I'm smarter than what I look. The pro took a little offense in that last comment. Do you think you can teach me that? Izuku ignored his comment and asked nervously. What? Architecture? The hero asked back just to receive a beaming face and intense nodding. Sure, I don't see why not. Yeah. Izuku shot his arms in the air in a signal of victory as he turned around, giving his back to the pro. It was endearing to the pro hero to see Midoriya act like this. It was rare to see him act like a kid, a teenager. It actually worried the hero to see the boy behaving so mature all the time. Suddenly, something popped up inside Death Arm's head. Hey, the tone that he used turned the temperature of the room a lot of degrees down, or at least that's how it felt for the boy who stopped mid-celebration. Talking about the incident. The humongous right hand of the pro sank over Midoriya's head and squeezed. Izuku screamed in pain, trying fruitlessly to take the hand off his head. Ouch, 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 ouch. What was the young boy thinking by jumping into action in the middle of the collapse of a burning building to save a pro hero? Izuku choked in his own saliva after hearing that question. She told you? More nervous than ever, he tried to inquire for information. You think she would keep her mouth shut about such a dangerous matter, Mr. Savior of Heroes? Death Arms lifted the boy by his head and moved him to his face to stare at him, death in his eyes. Needless to say, Izuku was sweating bullets while trembling uncontrollably. You're fucked inside his head, Nico stated the obvious. You're in for a hard punishment, Midoriya-san. The pro squeezed again, reminding the young one why his hero name was Death Arms. His scream echoed even outside of the gym. Meanwhile in another prefecture. Something wrong, Iwami-san? The girl that was putting makeup on the pro heroine asked curiously. The pro in question had snapped her head in a certain direction, looking through a window. The smuggest grin had suddenly appeared on her face. Not at all. I just felt that something really good happened somewhere. Her mood had raised 10 times for some reason. Iwami-san. A man suddenly appeared through a door. The commercial starts in 5 minutes. It was just a reminder. Yes, she just tilted her head cutely, she would give her all in this just like that stupid green-haired catboy that suddenly appeared in her head. It has been a week since Izuku received Death Arm's punishment, but his body was still in pain from it. Right now, he was in his school, and it was lunch break. Izuku was eating the lunch box that his mom prepared for him. It was a balanced meal that helped him to be at peak performance for his exercise. His predilection for lunch was outside next to a tree, his animalistic side made him like nature more, and besides, no one came to this place, so it was quiet and peaceful. That's why it surprised him that someone went there to see him. Midoriya. The catboy turned his head to see the person. It was a guy from his classroom. The boy in question was a plain-looking character, it didn't even have hair to stand out more. No, being bald can make you stand more. Yes, Nobum-kun? Izuku asked with a smile. The other boy looked nervous, so he hoped his smile would soothe him down a little. Midoriya knew his classmate didn't come to cause problems, no one actually did to him anymore, and of course, it was because he had a quirk now. Well, not everyone had left him alone, there were some who tried to pick a fight with him, and surprisingly enough, Kitsuki wasn't one of them. They tried to give him a lesson, saying stuff like, "Don't get cocky just because you got a quirk now. Or our quirks are better than yours, punk." Yeah, weird stuff. They stopped a while ago, not because Izuku whooped their asses, but because they couldn't even land a finger on him. They soon realized how much difference there was between them. Izuku was too fast and too flexible to catch, and he wasn't even pretentious about it. The catboy tried to stop them in the most Izuku Midoriya way possible, by stuttering words to calm them down. They eventually gave up. "Well, I was wondering because you're a nerd with quirks and all that." Not the politest way to ask something, but it didn't bother Izuku at all. "And everyone says that my quirk is worthless for a hero." That certainly bothered Izuku, who those people thought they were to say something like that. It was clearly pissing off, however, Izuku knew better than to show his anger on his face, it could give his classmate the wrong idea, so he kept calm. "So do you know how I can become one?" Izuku let out a sigh, calming the hot feeling in his interior, and gave the other boy a bright smile. Sure, I can think about something. His classmate immediately beamed at those words. Can you show me your quirk again? But you already know it. Nobum was surprised at that request. Yes, but I've never seen it up close. The green head offered another smile. Also, if you could tell me anything about it, it would make this even easier. He said again, pulling out his notebook of hero analysis for the future number 14, along with a pencil from his backpack. Well, as you can see, the boy grabbed his eyeballs and pulled them out, being only connected to his eye sockets through a nerve. I can stretch my eyeballs to around a meter away. Izuku only nodded as he took notes. They're more resistant and it doesn't feel weird when I touch them. Is the nerve that connects them flexible? Izuku asked without taking his eyes out of his notebook. Yes, very flexible and as strong as metal. The other answered. But you can only pull them out with your hands, right? You cannot command them on their own, yes. Bullseye. His classmate exclaimed, releasing his eyes and snapping his fingers into finger guns. Any drawbacks? Izuku waited for the other to think. If I stretch them for too long, they start to hurt and it gets difficult to put them back on my face. The bald student informed me. Okay, I think that's enough. He continued in his notebook for a few more minutes. So, how does it look? He showed his classmate the page about him, where it even included a picture of him pulling his eyeballs out. Amazing, the boy murmured, being flabbergasted by such accurate information and pictures. Never in the past, he thought much about the green-haired boy, but now seeing it up close, Midoriya was quite amazing. Now how to apply this to a hero job, that question was more for himself than the other person, as it was clear when he went deep in thought. First of all, you will be a great rescue hero. And even in a battle, your worth would be invaluable. Izuku confirmed with a smile. What, how? Nobum couldn't help but shout, grabbing the catboy by the shoulders. How did Izuku get to that conclusion? He couldn't see that at all. Was he playing a prank on him? Playing with his hopes as revenge for all those years that he laughed at him? Well, just think about it. You just need a support item for your eyes that can extend them for you in any way you need. The look on the bald boy's face was one of worry. Such support items can be made. That was what was worrying him. Of course. Izuku smiled. He knew a pink-haired girl who would love to try that idea and make it a complete success. And with that support item, you can save many people. In rescue missions, you can stretch out your eyeball to search for them through debris where other heroes couldn't. And in a battle, for example, a hostages situation inside a building. If you can make it to a window, you could see what is the situation and gain information without being detected, and if you add night or thermovision to the support item, the possibilities for you just keep increasing. Also, in a fight, you could use the nerve of your eyes to suppress a villain. Of course, you will need to work hard for this. Do a lot of exercises not only for your quirk, but for your body as well, and combat training too. It won't be easy, but it will be very rewarding, I can assure you that. Izuku finally concluded. He was really surprised when he saw a tear coming down his classmate's eyes. The look on him was of complete disbelief. Thanks Midoriya, you're amazing. Thank you so much. The boy cleaned the tears and smiled wholeheartedly. It was as if some weight was lifted from his shoulders. That was when Izuku's face grew in horror as he realized something. When he stopped being the bullied kid, the others began to pick new targets with weaker quirks, and Nobum was one of them. Excuse me, Nobum-kun. That new and cold tone of Izuku startled the bald boy. The boy looked at Midoriya because his green hair was covering his eyes. I need to do something. Izuku just walked away, leaving all his belongings there. He was beset to no end. Midoriya never cared in the past when he was being bullied, but now, knowing that there were others who were suffering the things he knew so well, it was completely unacceptable. He knew who they were, and he might not be violent, but if they wouldn't attend to his words, then he would make them listen to him. It didn't take much. Just a single glance at his eyes and claws was enough to make them piss their pants. They promised to never do it again to anybody. Putting his sharp claws next to the leader's neck was enough to seal the deal, as a reminder to not go back on their word when he wasn't looking. For the rest of the year, no one would ever know why every sort of bullying had stopped so suddenly, but the rumor between the bullies was always present in their minds. If they ever attempt something, a green beast will come after them. That rumor would become an urban legend in that middle school, stopping any sort of bullying even in the years to come. The day at school was coming to an end, and everyone was already leaving for their homes. Izuku was one of them. Hey, Midoriya. He was called from behind. Kurigane-kun. What's up? Izuku smiled when he saw it was the boy that was burned by Katsuki 4 months ago. Some friends and I are going to karaoke. Want to tag along? People treated him normal since he got his quirk due to his friendly personality. Sorry, I already have plans for today. Izuku dismissed it apologetically. I see. Then maybe some other time. The arcade perhaps, Saturday. The teen got a nod from the catboy in confirmation. Neat. He was happy because it was almost impossible to do something with Midoriya outside of school, he was always busy. Oh, and how are they? The boy tapped one of his ears to make emphasis on the thing that only they both knew. Completely recovered. Thanks for asking. Truth be told, back when Kurogane was burned thanks to Bakugo, when they arrived at the infirmary, Izuku crumbled holding his cat ears tightly in pain. He was putting a facade in the classroom. Why did his ears hurt? For the same reason Kurogane got burned, Katsuki's explosions. Especially the one that was so close to his face, it hurt his now so sensible eardrums, but no one needed to know such weakness to exploit, especially not Bakugo. Each classmate exchanged goodbyes and went on their ways. Now, an hour later, Izuku was outside of his apartment complex wearing his green tracksuit. Today was a day to rest the muscles, which meant his only exercise for the day was jogging. At least he could use his weight bracelets for this. Ready go. As Nico gave the green light, he was shot forward. Even if he said he was jogging, to any bystander Midoriya looked like he was running. Of course, he didn't pay attention to this due to him being on autopilot. The teenager was currently thinking about something more interesting. He was thinking about how to apply the quirks of his classmates into hero work, and all was thanks to Nabum. It wasn't until he finished with his last classmate that he noticed something was wrong. Izuku came to a halt after seeing that he didn't recognize the streets. He looked in every direction, but he couldn't recognize anything. Am I in another prefecture? Everything seemed to point to that conclusion. How much did I jog? And, as expected, Nico was laughing her ass off at his expense. A certain boy from a certain school walked down the street deep in his own thoughts. If I compare myself to her, I'm just so dull and boring. I mean, my quirk is just heartening. He had black hair just under shoulder length with some shorter bangs between his eyes, with a small scar just above his right eye. The name of this boy was Ejiro Kirishima. To be honest, I'm just lame, but whenever I see someone like Ishido, something inside me thinks if I was flashier or had a stronger quirk, would I be more confident? Would I be able to say I'm aiming for the UAS heroics departments? He was self-loathing. He had put a facade of him being strong and manly when he was not. He couldn't stop bullying, not like Mina Ishido. In the middle of his self-loathing, a thump stopped him in his tracks. Snapping his head, he was able to see a giant, so to speak. The giant was covered by a hooded cloak and had a radio tied with a rope hanging from his neck. The hell is that? Everything Ejiro could think of. The giant looked like he was intimidating two teenagers. Wait, those kids are from my middle school. Where are the hero offices of Springer? The giant asked the girls, but they were clearly too afraid to answer. So, you won't tell me? Growing impatient, the giant stretched out his left hand to the building at the back of the girl and gripped it, making the building crack. It was clear to everyone around that the giant was going to collapse the building over the girl. Oh shit. Why are there only times like these when there isn't a hero on patrol? Kirishima cursed in his head. Somebody. He looked around, but everyone was too afraid to do something. No. Not somebody. You do it. Go. Jump in, and. But he couldn't even move a muscle. He was too afraid to do something as well. Why won't you tell me? The giant asked, bringing his hand down. It was at the last moment that a pink girl jumped in front of the giant, sweating bullets. Kirishima recognized her. Mina Ishido, again, was there to save the day. The girl opened her mouth to say something, but I know where it is. A shout came out of nowhere, paralyzing everyone, even the girl who jumped to the rescue. Mina Ishido has seen everything from the start. How the giant approached the girls from her class and how he was about to crush them. She was too scared like everyone else, but seeing how she was about to lose her friends made her body to act on its own. Before she knew it, she was in front of the giant, ready to spat in a random direction to get the giant away. Then why did her mind go blank when she heard a voice speak before her? Her unique bright yellow eyes with black sclera were shot immediately at the person who intervened before her. In fact, everyone's eyes were directed to the same person, even the giant turned his head away from the three girls. I know where the offices of Springer are. It was a green-haired boy in a tracksuit who sported cat features, making it clear that it was his quirk. The catboy had let out a sigh to calm down. He was sweating like everyone who has witnessed the scene, but Mina knew better. It was because she was a highly active girl that she knew that sweat wasn't because he was afraid, but because he had been working out. His face looked pretty calm and gentle. How is he so calm in a situation like this? Ishido shouted in her head out of frustration, due to not being able to comprehend him. Follow me, sir. The boy said, as he approached the giant, as if it was something normal. The boy stopped between the giant and the girls. He turned his head at the girls whose legs were glued in place due to their fear, and smiled. Their legs faltered, making the three girls fall on their knees as they were able to breathe again. They haven't realized that they stopped breathing a while ago. Their eyes began to create tears, unable to look away from that smile. It made them feel safe. It shouted to them everything is okay now. I'll take care of this. The boy said, taking them out of their stupor. You should go home. It looked like a suggestion, but to them, it sounded like an order. His head turned again to the giant who was still there watching this unfold. Shall we go? The giant nodded. Lead the way, and just like that, the catboy and the frightening giant left the scene. When they were out of sight, the normal atmosphere returned. The three girls hugged each other and began to cry uncontrollably. They thought they were going to die. Do you think that guy is going to be okay? One of the girls asked Mina. They have already calmed down. The pink girl looked in the direction they disappeared. Who in their sane judgment would go alone with that monster? She seriously didn't know that boy was probably as crazy as that giant, but he saved their lives, and she was extremely thankful to him. I hope so. She said, worried. Bijiro Kirishima, who had seen everything unfold, was at the point of doing the opposite of his quirk. He was going to crumble. Why didn't you go? He was frozen in place. Compensate with my manly heart. Yeah right, the image of his hero Crimson Riot came to his head. I don't even jump into the fray when others are in trouble. I ain't a man or anything else. He was seriously crumbling in his self-loathing as he crumpled a paper in his right hand, a paper where it says he was going to apply to the UA High. Izuku Midoriya looked calm, however, on the inside he was in complete alert mode. The guy who was following him was dangerous, and too strong. It was a common instinct to fight or flight, but he could feel none. They were simply not an option because he knew that either way was death. Although, even if he could take one of those, he wouldn't have done it anyway. He couldn't leave someone else to deal with this guy, nor could he let him roam freely. That was why he decided to go with the giant. Izuku didn't know where the offices of Springer were, but it was obvious that this guy wasn't going there to ask for help. That's why he interfered before the girl said something. If she gave him the right direction, who knows what catastrophe that would become. That's why even if he knew the direction, he wouldn't lead him there. Giving him a random direction wasn't an option either, because it meant that someone else would have to deal with this guy. Midoriya was in the biggest pinch of his life. Should I still try and fight? Don't even think on that. Nico screamed furiously at him for even considering that option. You're just an ant at his feet. This guy can kill you in less than a second. Then what should I do? He shouted, his patience becoming thinner. I need to lead this guy to a deserted place. I'm not going to leave him around. Nico was biting her claws because she couldn't argue that being so noble was a problem for Izuku, that was for sure. Then something caught her attention. Hey, I think I know this place. She began to recognize the streets. Yeah, I know how to go to a place devoid of people. Just follow my lead. Izuku couldn't question her on how she knew, not right now. They continue walking for who knows how much. The silence was so awkward that Izuku's good nature took over his mouth. My name is Izuku Midoriya. What's yours, sir? He spoke. What are you doing? Nico scolded him. Sorry. My mouth just moved on its own. They hoped that the guy wouldn't get angry for that. You may call me Gigantomachia. The giant spoke, taking them by surprise. That sounds so cool. You said that out loud. Dumbiz seriously, if this guy didn't kill Izuku, she would. Thanks. This incredibly polite Izuku couldn't help but think that. He also could believe that Gigantomachia talked to him this way, without being reserved about it. Well, you have that effect on people. It worked on me, but also our quirk can boost that in many ways. Nico answered him. They walked for a little more until they got to an intersection. This is where we depart, Gigantomachia-san, Izuku said. Follow this road for about 10 streets and then turn to the right. You're going to find it 3 kilometers away. The boy said with confidence. The giant nodded. Thank you. He began to walk. Everything I do is for the Lord, Thicc commented as he left. Unknown to the boy, the giant acknowledged him. He wouldn't be forgotten. Whether that was good or bad was unknown in the future. Midoriya couldn't help but let out a sigh of relief. Do you know how to get home? Sorry, I only know the direction that thing is walking, Nico said apologetically. How did you know that direction? And you sounded like you knew him too. No, I do not know him, and that direction. Og. How did I know that direction? There are so many blanks it hurts. She sounded in pain. Stop. I don't distrust you. Don't worry about it. He said in a hurry. He had already noticed it when she told him her story. There was stuff that didn't match, but now it was clear Nico has partial amnesia. Do you think I could ever defeat someone like him? He asked, trying to take her out of that state. Yes, not now, but in the future. You'll need to train more. She told him. That's all you have to say. Izuku readied his mind for more training. Now he looked around him. How do I get home from here? The catboy asked out loud to himself. You're lost, kid. Okay, he certainly didn't expect an answer to that. His eyes darted at his side, at the floor. There he found a man probably around his 20s, looking back at him. The man in question was wearing an all-night-haired hooded jacket with a black mask covering his face, red sunglasses, and bike protective gear. However, that wasn't the odd part. Strangely enough, the odd part was that he was crawling in four. It actually looked like a cockroach. Izuku's mind was blank. "Where are you going?" "I know pretty much everything in the city," the man said confidently. He seemed like a pretty chill dude. The green-haired teen told him how he got there and where he wanted to go back. "Oh yeah, I know where it is." The strange man proceeded to tell the way to his home. "Thank you, gentleman," Izuku said. "Oh, you know me." The man smiled at Izuku, who nodded with a smile on his face too. "But man, there's been ages since someone calls me that. I'm now known as the Hauler." Izuku interrupted him. "The Crawler," the man shouted mad at him. "Sorry, I know, I was just joking, Crawler-san," Izuku said, almost laughing. "Haha, well I'm not laughing, am I?" the vigilante asked. "You just did. Don't get smart with me, boy." Those words came out like bullets. "It's unfortunate that I don't have my notebook. I would have liked you to give me your signature." Izuku said the Crawler was, at least for him, the best vigilante. Midoriya had heard from his mother that the unique illegal hero had helped her a few times with directions in the past, so it was kind of ironic that he was here doing the same for him. The vigilante looked at a piece of paper in the road 10 meters away. In no time he glided and came back to where he was. "Here, you can have it." The kind man gave the catboy the paper already with his signature. "Not every day I meet someone who recognizes me so easily, let alone ask for my signature." He was flattered. "Thank you very much," Izuku exclaimed. "You have an awesome quirk, Crawler-san." The man scratched the back of his head, embarrassed. "Hey Izuku Midoriya." The boy introduced himself. "Midoriya, if you want, I can give you a ride to your home. Ring ring. The Crawler pointed at his back until the sound of his phone stopped him. "Give me a sec." Izuku nodded. "Yellow Kazuho ya MHMO, okay, I'm on my way to love you." He hung off and gave an apologetic look to Midoriya. "Sorry, Midoriya. My girlfriend needs me, and don't worry about it. I was planning to go home jogging anyways." The green head reassures the vigilante. "Alright then." The illegal hero went back to his crouching position. "By the way, the name is Koichi Himawari. See you later," he shouted as he glided away, leaving Midoriya there. "What a strange fellow," commented Nico. "But he is awesome. Meeting his favorite vigilante sure was nice after everything that happened with Gigantomachia." His second favorite vigilante was Pop Step, but that didn't matter right now. Finally, the time passed. It was now the 5th month since he got his quirk. Izuku was currently at Dagaba Beach. 493. He was doing squats, something pretty normal, except it wasn't normal at all. Over his shoulder, he was carrying something that a teenager shouldn't be carrying. Izuku was lifting a 4x4 van. How the van got to the beach was a mystery, but it sure was a great tool to exercise. But why was he doing this? Because this van was the last junk to take out of the beach. 500. Izuku shouted, but didn't let go of the van. It was time to clean, even if his legs were to the point of breaking. As he finally put it down, he looked at the rising sun on the horizon, sweeping away the sweat on his forehead. Izuku Nico's words were more than enough for him. "Time to go to the next level," the catboy said with a confident smile on his face. "Are you sure about this?" Death Arms asked the teen. "Don't hold anything back," shouted Izuku back. They were at Dagaba Beach, as Izuku requested. Something that he lacked until this point was something very important for heroes' combat training. And what partner could have been better than a pro hero? They both launched at each other at the same time. And of course, as expected, Izuku got his ass whooped multiple times to the point he literally ate dirt. Now, Death Arms was drinking water while Izuku painted erratically, his body plastered on the sand. "I thought this beach was filled with junk," the pro wondered out loud. "Yep, and apparently someone can't clean it by themselves," Midoriya said while trying to regain his breath. "So, he is unaware of the rumor that says that this place was cleaned by a green catboy," Death Arms thought, as a smile crept to his face. "Not even going to take credit for this, Midoriya. I mean, who else fits in that description to him?" The kid was already more heroic than some pros out there. Ready for another round. At that, the green head jumped in his legs, still panting. "Bring it." "Ouch," said Midoriya, his body has never felt so sore. The boy was preparing to go to sleep. "I swear to God, he used those spars to punish me more for saving Iwami." And he was not wrong. Soon after, he fell asleep. His eyes opened again, but this time in his mindscape. So Nico's voice caught his attention. "Next level, ha." Izuku chuckled at that. He just had started. "Okay, what do you want me to do? Can you control my mindscape to recreate different scenes?" he asked. "Yep." She grinned. I want you to create different scenarios with disasters, incidents, and even villain attacks with heroes to counteract said incidents. He finally told her. I have seen my fair share of incidents in the past, but, for what? The feline asked a real question. I have 14 notebooks of hero analysis. But that is simply not enough. It needs to be more practical. Izuku began to explain. I want to be able to come up with a plan and solution for every situation as soon as possible. Got it? But why the heroes too? Heroes are paired with each other randomly, and our quirk is not going to be the solution for everything. I want to be able to use other people's quirk the most efficiently possible to gain their maximum output to save as many people as we can. The boy finished. This idea came to his mind after the incident with Gigantomachia. He could never again leave something like that to pure luck, it wasn't something reliable. Nico was astonished by him. She couldn't know if she was talking with a middle schooler or a pro hero anymore. Heh. Then, shall we begin? He nodded. Also, I have prepared other kinds of training for you to do here as well. Whatever it was, he clenched his fist and smiled. I'll give my everything and go beyond that. You're already doing that. Certainly, Izuku Midoriya was now the embodiment of plus ultra. The fifth mount almost ended. It was 8:30 in the evening and Izuku was on his way home from helping Mei with their babies. Growl, so hungry. Izuku commented when he hurt his stomach. The boy hasn't eaten anything since 12. I can't wait to get home. But then something caught his eyes. Hey, old man just gave it up. A man, no, a thug with his mob of 5 friends, was intimidating an old man around his 60s. My friends and I are pretty hungry, so just lend us what you got there. They were trying to take the old man's groceries against his will. The worst thing was that this scene was unfolding on a wide alleyway in broad daylight for any passerby to see it. The why? Why is no one doing anything with horror in his eyes? Izuku looked at every passerby, but all of them were just ignoring it on purpose, not because they were frightened, it was because they simply didn't care. Help, someone. The old man's call for help made Izuku's eyes start to tear up. Why, even after that, nobody stopped and helped him. It's useless, old man. Everyone knows already, the thug said with a smug. It's because you're quirkless. Those words hit Izuku like a truck. I mean, who gives a crap about a quirkless nobody, am I right? He asked his mob, who began to laugh. So, give it up. The thug kicked the man, knocking him down. That was the last straw. His own fangs gritted to the point of almost breaking. His fists were clenched so tightly that his claws have perforated his palms, drawing blood out. Only one thought was in Izuku's mind. This society is rotten. This old dude is so worthless that not even a hero would care for him, said the thug. Like a ghost, a silhouette passed his side in the direction of the old man and crouched. It was a green-haired boy with cat ears over his head. Are you okay, sir? The boy asked, giving a hand to the old man. Thanks. The old man stopped in his tracks when he saw the blood on the boy's hand and looked up. The kindest and heartwarming smile was on the face of that boy. They both got up. Kid. What do you think you're doing? The thug looked pissed. The mob just thought that the kid was crazy and began to laugh. We were having some fun with that. Get lost before we. The thug stopped mid-sentence when the catboy turned around to see him. The man began to shake. The light created a shadow just in the eyes of the boy, but that didn't matter. Those green emerald orbs shined through it. Actually, they could only see 2 green dots staring back at them. What the shadow didn't cover was from his nose down. Which meant that they could have a great look at those dangerous fangs. Everyone was paralyzed in fear of incomplete terror. Not only the thug and his mob, but every passerby who was in sight. The message was clear for everyone. Continue with that, and you will be devoured. Not hurt, not killed, devoured. It was a primordial fear written in the subconscious of every living creature. And there was when humans were reminded about it. No one could move, no one could breathe, no one could fight. Not against something that was classified as the ultimate predator by the mind. They could only wait there to be harvested. Izuku was out of his mind, and the predatory growl that came from his mouth was full proof of it. He could already visualize himself pouncing the thug and sinking his fangs on his throat. Stopped. Izuku. Nico was trying to stop him. She was lucky he could hear her, but the boy couldn't calm down. This whole situation had struck too close to home. I know. Use that. His right hand moved slowly to his back pocket and pulled something out. It was that thorny vine that remained from the flower crown. His lucky charm. He put it close to his face and started to sniff it. All his muscles relaxed, his claws retracted. Izuku returned to his normal state of mind. Then his eyes grew in disgust. He screamed in horror. Pant. He started hyperventilating. His heart rate began to increase, faster and faster. If he didn't stop, he was going to have a heart attack. Calm down, Izuku. You're not a monster. You didn't do anything wrong. Nico tried again, and again it failed. Use it again. use that charm again it helped. Why did I? How could I even think about it? Midoriya was too afraid of himself. Calm down, I guess it's my fault I made it sound as if the drawbacks of this quirk were something stupid, Nico said. Remember this, even the lion who was raised by humans is destined to attack them out of instinct when he's hungry. Those words echoed in his head. Our quirk can make you that lion, Izuku, never forget it. She let those words sink in. Things like hunger can make you easily lose control thanks to your instincts, and if you add a strong negative emotion to the mix like anger, it's the worst combination possible. Everyone around the teen was coming back to normal, even the thugs who were pissed now that they saw the boy wasn't dangerous. What happened? Is someone in trouble? A black-haired boy came out of the corner. Ijiro Kirishima had heard the scream and came to the rescue. And what he saw was a bunch of thugs intimidating an old man and another teen. Then he recognized the catboy and knew that he probably came to save the old man as well. You bastards, what do you think you're doing? Ijiro questioned as he hit his fists together, making them harden. Hold there, kid. An authoritarian voice came from behind the teen. When Kirishima looked over his shoulder, he saw an extremely short elderly man that had short spiky hair and a beard with a cane. The man was wearing a hero costume of some sort, which consisted of a full-body monochrome suit along with a yellow cape, a belt with the letter G on it, very thick yellow gloves and boots, and a dark domino mask which resembled two diamonds. The elder passed Kirishima. Seriously? I came all the way here because my student needed some advice, and on my way home what do I find? A bunch of stupid youngsters who forgot who to show some proper respect to their elders. The old man mumbled as he approached the thugs. What are you mumbling, old man? The leader of the thugs lost his patience, launching himself at the elder with a knife. Watch out! Izuku and Ijiro screamed in worry. In less than a second, the elder was crushing the thug under his feet against the ground, leaving the two teens with their mouths hanging. It seems all of you need a lesson. In the next seconds, the elder proceeded to knock out all the mobs. HMPH. Seriously, youth these days. Making me strain these old bones of mine. Nobody has any consideration nowadays. This old geezer, whoever he was amazing. You? He pointed at Kirishima with his cane. Yes, it caught him off guard, straightening himself. Help your elders with the groceries. The man pointed at the quirkless elder. Right away, sir, Ijiro responded with a salute like a soldier hearing orders from a superior. And you? He now pointed at Izuku. Yes sir, Midoriya gave the same response. Follow me, I'll need help with mine. The elder began to walk away. Both teens went to help in what they were ordered, crossing their path and looking at one another for the first time in the eyes. They both nodded at each other at the same time and went to complete their tasks. There wasn't a need for a word between them, after all, they had a conversation in just an instant. Because a simple nod of the head is the international language between men, depending on if it was upward or downward, it can't mean different things. What Kirishima said to Izuku with his nod was, I acknowledge your manliness. See you around. What Midoriya said to Ijiro with his nod was, I acknowledge your heroism. See you later. They were true men. Izuku had been following the elders around until they stopped in a street where nobody was around. Hey, Brett. The old man called his attention. I think you already figured out that I didn't bring you here to carry my groceries, don't you? Yes was the only response Izuku could give. You were going to kill those men, you understand that right? The old geezer hadn't even turned around to say those words, but he already knew what the boy's face was. Yes, the boy couldn't deny it. No matter how much he wished to say no. I was about to knock you out for good, but at least you showed some self-control. The man continued. Thanks. That wasn't a compliment, kid. That answer displeased the old man, and he showed it when he turned around. I know I was thanking you for being there, ready to stop me. Izuku's eyes didn't lie about it, he would have rather been killed immediately than do what he was about to, it froze him in place just to think about it. Tell me, kid. About your quirk. That wasn't a suggestion, it was an order. Yes, Izuku proceeded to tell him about his quirk. You say you started training 5 months ago. The man received a nod. Why now? Shouldn't you have worked on it since you were little? The old man narrowed his eyes to pay extreme attention to the boy. I was quirkless until 5 months ago, sir. He confessed. Now I see why you acted as you did back there, but that still doesn't excuse you for what you intended. Another nod from the teen. How did you gain your quirk? Someone gave it to me, sir. This put the old man on alert. Who gave it to you? Was it a man in a suit with great injuries? What? No, she died that same day. The boy looked like he was going to crumble just by saying that. She was someone really important. Hick to me, he began to cry on the spot. So, it wasn't him. The man thought. Sorry for making you remember something painful. This wasn't a random conversation. The man, Gran Torino, didn't ask those questions randomly. He didn't bring a random kid who he just met to scold him. A few hours early, at UA High. Boy, Toshinori. You seriously brought me here just to know how to talk to a teenager boy. What are you, a middle schooler? Gran Torino scolded his former student. No, not at all. It's just that I crushed that boy's dreams. Me, the symbol of peace. I'm going to be a teacher in 5 months. I want to be able to understand my students more. Toshinori Yagi is a disaster right now. Sayake, tell me about this kid. The former teacher asked. After a brief explanation. Wait. You said this kid was quirkless. But now you're telling me that the last time you saw him again he had a mutant-type quirk? The man asked angrily. Yes, that's right. Confirmed Yagi. That means he didn't lie, but it never came to your head that this may be the doing of him. Those words froze the blonde man in place. No sir, how did he overlook something like that? This is the problem with you, Toshinori. You get easily blinded by your emotions. Gran Torino yelled. I think I can go and… Stop. The little elder interrupted him. Because you feel guilty towards him, you could be easily deceived if he is really under the influence of that person. But if it's really true, then I'm responsible for him turning into a Vi. Toshinori couldn't even bring himself to say the word. See, this is what I'm talking about. Those words froze the symbol of peace. Give me a description of the kid. I'll see what I can do. It was an order. Back to the present. Gran Torino was really lucky he found the kid the same day. And felt a great relief now that he knew that the kid wasn't a villain. Sir Izuku's voice brought the former teacher to reality. Is there someone out there that can grant quirks? That caught the old man by surprise. This kid was smarter and sharper than he was given credit for. Not bad traits for a hero. Oh, no. It was just this old man ranting nonsense. Don't pay me too much attention. He dismissed quickly. Izuku didn't show it, but he didn't buy it. If someone out there could grant quirks, could they give quirks to the quirkless to stop the discrimination? He hoped so. How naive he was. Hey, kid. Gran Torino called him. What do you want to be when you grow up? A hero, sir. There wasn't a glimpse of hesitation on him, and the old man approved. Tell me, kid. The man continued. What are your thoughts on All Might? That was a strange question for the boy. He is a great hero, who I admire, sir, Izuku said with a smile. The same bright smile of his former student. You don't have anything to worry about, Toshinori the old geezer thought while smiling. By the way, who are you, Brad? That startled Izuku. They had this important conversation, and they hadn't even exchanged names. Izuku Midoriya. Boo. Izuku Midoriya, sir. What were we talking about, Brad? The old man really looked clueless. We were talking about my quirks, and Izuku couldn't help but think this old geezer had Alzheimer's. Whatever. Gran Torino turned around, but then noticed that the kid was still following. What do you want from me, Brad? Stop following me or I'll kick your ass. Right. Sorry, sir. Izuku apologized. Did he seriously forget everything that happened? Then he remembered something. Ah, sir, what's your name? The old geezer smiled. You can call me Gran Torino. Midoriya wouldn't forget that. Oh, and kid, eat something, you look like you need it. Yes, sir. The boy made a grim face at that. They departed from each other and went their own ways. Izuku was on his way home. Nico, he called her name. Do you think I could move like Gran Torino back in the alleyway? Bouncing from walls at great speed. I mean, he was so cool. Oh yeah, definitely. It needs a lot of training, and you're going to strain your legs, but you could do it. She answered. Izuku was so immersed in his head that he didn't see a person crossing the corner until they both hit each other. I'm sorry. I wasn't looking where I was walking. The catboy apologized immediately. No, I wasn't looking either. The other person said. Then they both looked up. Izuku Midoriya and Ejiro Kirishima met again. You're the guy from before. Both exclaimed at the same time, pointing at each other. Want to go for a drink? Izuku offered with a smile. Sure. Ejiro smiled back. Both teenagers were now sitting on a bench of some park with beverages in their hands. So, Kirishima-kun. What's your quirk? The green-haired boy asked. He just finished talking about his own and his dream of becoming a hero. It's nothing that amazing like yours. In fact, it's not flashy at all. The black-haired boy was timid about it. Just show me, Izuku said with a smile. Okay, it's just heartening, nothing great. Ejiro hardened his right arm. Oh wow, that looks so cool. Those words weren't the ones Kirishima was expecting. Can I touch it? Izuku looked at him with sparkles in his eyes. Sure. Wow, this thing is amazing. Excuse me for this, Kirishima-kun. Without even letting the other teen respond, Izuku scratched it with his claws. Aha. Not even a scratch. It wasn't out of ill intentions, so the hardening boy let it slip. And you can do this with all your body? Kirishima nodded. You could be such a cool hero with this quirk. Someone like Crimson Riot. Izuku was flabbergasted. Do you really think that? Kirishima couldn't believe it. Of course. Midoriya beamed at him without a doubt in his face. You could become something like an unbreakable shield that makes everyone around you feel safe. Izuku continued. And you jump back there without a trace of fear to save that grandpa. You have everything to become a great hero. Those last words hit a nerve. I don't see it like that. That depressed tone stopped Izuku on his track. I have seen you before, Midoriya the boy continued. I saw you stop that giant from crushing those two girls a while back. I was there and I couldn't do anything. Kirishima was clenching his fist in frustration. Izuku's face grew in horror at the face that Kirishima was making he had seen before he had seen it himself. It hurts here. The black-haired boy grasped his heart. The pain of me being worthless, the pain of my regret, Izuku finished for him. How did you do? This time it was Kirishima's face who grew in horror when he saw Midoriya. Because of me something really bad happened to someone and I couldn't do anything. Why was he crying again? He had done it so many times that day. Why? Stop. This is not about you. He forced himself to stop and cleaned his tears. I had felt that regret too. But I now use it as my motivation to become a great hero. Izuku gave a fearless smile. But you don't have fear. I was paralyzed by it. Kirishima continued in his self-loathing. Midoriya stood up and looked at the sky. You're wrong, I live in fear, but my fear is no longer for my safety. I live in fear of not being capable of saving others. Those words hit Kirishima harder than even his own quirk could have ever gone. That's why I can't stay still when I see someone in danger, and that's why Izuku turned and put his hand on Ijiro's head and gave him the best smile he could. I know you can become a great hero, Kirishima-kun. Tears appeared on the hardening boy, the image of his hero, Crimson Riot, overlapped Izuku's. It was as if his hero was the one who said those words. Because you know the pain of that regret. That's why you and I are one and the same. You and I are Izuku, and put his fist up. Kirishima smiled and did the same. Brothers. They both bumped their fist at the same time. It was 3 in the afternoon, a chilly day, but a good kind of chilly, fitting for an autumn day. Izuku was leaning against the wall of a building, scrolling through his phone, looking at the most recent news about heroes while he waited. Most of them were about the hero prodigy Kamui Woods, who has been escalating the hero ranking at a fast pace. And Mount Lady, and her new nickname the Collateral Damage Hero, although men still loved her for obvious reasons. Hey, Midoriya. Sorry, I'm late. A voice made him take his eyes off his phone. Don't worry about it, Kai. He cut himself when the black-haired boy he was waiting for was replaced with a spiky red-haired boy. Kirishima-kun. The cat boy asked his name in confirmation, his eyes were wide in disbelief. I decided to change my appearance. I was planning to do it after I passed the UA entrance exam, if I passed it that is, but decided that no matter if I succeed or not, I should be a new me regardless, starting from now on. Ijiro explained while rubbing the back of his head with a smile on his face. What do you think? It definitely caught Izuku by surprise, but it somehow fit him perfectly. Putting his phone in his pocket, Midoriya smiled at his friend. I think you're very manly, Kirishima-kun. They both laugh at that. It has been 3 days since they became friends, and today was the first day for Kirishima to go to the gym. Izuku somehow managed to convince him to sign up. After all, it's a very good gym, and very cheap on top of that. Shall we go then? Izuku asked. Yeah. They began to walk. So Izuku began with the conversation. How did your school react to you? Oh. Kirishima raised his voice, as if something really interesting came to his mind. Everyone freaked out, and a lot of them didn't even recognize me. I think the teacher even fainted. I would have liked to see that. They both continued to laugh on their way to the gym. Just one more, Kirishima-kun. Izuku encouraged the spiky boy in his lifting exercise. 100. Ijiro screamed after he finished lifting 200 pounds. He had never done so much before, and now his arms ached like hell, but it felt nice, and having someone there to push you further was better than doing it alone. Coming to the gym was the right choice. What do you want to do next? Midoriya asked as he handed him a water bottle. Maybe you want to work on your legs while you rest your arms. Yeah, that sounds good, Kirishima said while wiping the sweat with a towel. But I have to say, this place is amazing. There are so many things to do. Kinda makes me wonder why we are the only ones here. I guess it's because of how it looks from the outside, and it's a little bit more hidden than normal. Kirishima let out a realization. Apart from us two, there is only one other person who comes here to work out. The red-haired boy's gaze landed on his exercise partner. Hey Midoriya, do you even lift, bro? His question wasn't because he was being cocky, but because the tracksuit that the green boy was wearing made him look scrawny. Smile in response, Midoriya took the weights that Kirishima was working with a minute ago with just his right hand and lifted it like it was nothing. He didn't look bothered at all lifting 200 pounds. Ijiro spat the water he was drinking. What the fuck? My muscles are not for show, besides, it's thanks to my quirk I can do something like this. My quirk and hard work. So, let's work hard to become great heroes, Kirishima-kun. He put the weight down. Yeah. Ijiro answered with a smile, all his energy returned to his body. I'll go to the bathroom while you rest a little more. The green-haired boy informed him while he walked away. Damn, Midoriya is so manly. Okay, I can't stay behind. The spiky boy thought, being now pumped up. Oh? Who do we have here? A new voice startled Kirishima. His head snapped at the direction of the voice, finding a giant of a man with white hair. Jesus, is he the other person Midoriya was talking about? He looks very manly. You must be Kirishima-kun, right? The large man inquired. Do you know me? That took the boy by surprise. Oh, so I was right. Midoriya told me about you. The man answered with a smile, happy with himself for guessing right. Nice meeting you. The white-haired man extended his right arm. Yeah, nice to meet you too, sir. Kirishima was a little rigid, but he shook his hand nonetheless. Good afternoon, sir. The voice of the mentioned team came from behind Kirishima. Hey, Midoriya. They greet each other. I see that you already meet each other, Izuku said, looking at both Ijiro and Death Arms. Yeah, he's a nice guy. Said Death Arms. Midoriya nodded in approval. Oh, before I forget it. Here. He pulled out a folder from his bag. Your next subject. Thank you so much, sir. Izuku bowed from his waist. What's that, Midoriya? Kirishima asked out of curiosity. He is teaching me architecture. He answered. I thought you wanted to become a hero, though, Ijiro said, surprised. Yeah, it is just that sir here found a way to apply it to hero work. It was totally unexpected, but it's awesome. The explanation made Kirishima let out an ah in admiration. Hey, listen. The man said a little bit pissed. I already told you I'm not that dumb, okay? Izuku looked at him in silence to finally look at his friend. Yeah, it was totally unexpected from him. The tick mark appeared on Death Arm's temple. It seems you didn't learn your lesson. The pro hero extended his arm to grab Izuku's head. I'm joking, I'm joking, I'm joking. Izuku entered in panic mode when he saw the arm of death approaching. Seriously, I still have nightmares with your hands in them. The three of them laugh after that. Excuse me, sir. Kirishima caught their attention. I was wondering if I have seen you before. You look oddly familiar. Death Arms and Izuku looked at each other in silence, then smiled, as if what the red boy just said was funny. Kirishima-kun. Izuku was the one who spoke. He is the pro hero, Death Arms. Ijiro just stood there trying to comprehend what his friend just said. What? And failed miserably with his brain doing short circuit. Yeah, I come here often to keep in shape for my job. The pro confirmed it humbly. Wait, Midoriya. You train with a pro hero, he asked in alarm, grabbing the catboy's shoulders. Well, I began to train with him recently, before that he just helped me here and there with my exercises. We are more like friends than anything else. Izuku explained. Yeah, I came here to forget about all the heroic stuff and have peace for a while. Death Arms continued. Ah, sorry it got to my head, Ijiro apologized, he was acting over-enthusiastic. Don't sweat it, kid. Midoriya was the same the first day. The hero reassured the boy, smacking his back. I'll go change to start with my routine. He took his leave. Wow, we're training with a pro. Kirishima still couldn't believe it. Izuku just kept his eyes on Death Arms until he disappeared behind a door. And he's gone. How's your back? He asked his friend. In complete pain. The spiky boy twitched in place. The smack on his back was harder than what it looked. He thought that even with his hardening, he would have felt that. It was 7 p.m. and Izuku was on his way home from the gym. It has been a week since Kirishima started at the gym, and since then, they had been pushing themselves to their limits, the clear reason why he felt weaker right now with pain all over his body. It was a good thing, it meant they could still improve. He stretched his arms out, the cool of the night was much appreciated. He was going to sleep like a baby today. Excuse me. A girl's voice brought him to reality, it came from behind him. How didn't he notice before? Midoriya turned around to look at the girl. The first thing he noticed was her eyes, bright yellow with thin slit pupils. It was like the eyes of a cat, a hungry cat, the same as his green emeralds. She had a blush that refused to leave her cheeks, and her smile showed big canines that would probably unsettle anyone who looked at them, anyone except Izuku. After all, he had a worse set of teeth, yeah, even worse than Kirishima. Her pale ash blonde hair had two buns that did a poor job at keeping it organized. She was wearing a dark blue school uniform with a red scarf, and over it, she had an oversized beige cardigan. Overall, Izuku thought she was cute, oddly cute, weirdly cute. Was this what was called Gapmo? Yes. How can I help you? Izuku responded calmly, but the girl stood there for a moment staring at his eyes. Apparently, he wasn't the only one who got captivated by the other person's eyes. He felt something weird about her, something didn't match. Ah, yes. I got lost, and I was wondering if you knew where this place was. She snapped out of her trance and handed him a paper. In the paper was the direction to a small shop that sold cookware. He remembered where it was, his mother sent him there from time to buy stuff. It sold the best knives, or at least everyone said that. Oh, I know where it is. He said, returning the paper. If you take, he was going to point out which way to take, however, he stopped himself. Actually, do you mind if I accompany you? It's pretty late, and I wouldn't feel well with myself if I sent you alone. He hoped he didn't sound creepy or gave her the wrong idea. She shook her head energetically. I don't mind at all. It actually would be of great help, thanks. She smiled at him. They began to make their way to the shop. My name is Izuku Midoriya, nice to meet you. He decided to start a conversation. I'm Himiko Toga, nice to meet you too, Izuku-kun. That caught him by surprise, they just became acquaintances, but she had already given him a nickname. He opted to ignore it, also, it sounded cute when she said it. Likewise, Toga-chan. He returned the smile. Izuku Nico called his name. You already felt it, right? Her voice was grim and serious. Yes, he answered with the same tone of voice, though his face didn't betray him. She is impregnated by the essence of blood. It was hard not to notice when your sense of smell is 14 times better than a normal human. The intoxicating aroma had punched him in the guts and kicked him in the balls to finally kiss his cheeks. It sickened him that he wasn't faced or repulsed by it. His feline traits were stronger than he thought. But back to the subject in hand, there were 3 explanations for the smell. First, she was on that day of the month, although he already came to the conclusion that this was not the case when it was that. The smell of blood came with a sweet aroma, the sweetest of aromas. Also, women looked more gorgeous and prettier, and it was hard for him to not get flustered. Izuku actually tried to avoid Mei or any female in his school when those days came. And right now, she doesn't smell sweet. Well, she did smell sweet, but not that kind of sweet. He could smell candies and popsicles, but not the sweetness of that. You know, you can perfectly say it, it has a name for a reason. Nico intervened. Not now. We can discuss this later. He answered, trying his hardest to not blush. Second, she was bleeding. Toga-chan. He called her, gaining her attention. Are you hurt in any way? She tilted her head cutely. What do you mean, Izuku-kun? Nothing, don't pay me any attention. Sorry for asking something strange. She really didn't know what he was talking about, and she didn't act like she was hurt. He didn't want to think about it, but it looked like the only answer. Third, she was the one who caused the bleeding to someone else. No, he refused to believe that a cute, innocent-looking girl was involved with something like that. There had to be another answer that he didn't contemplate. He hated that this answer was the first thing that popped in his mind. What's that? Himiko exclaimed and began to trot into a dark alley. Toga, wait. He followed her without even thinking. The alley went on, and even if he had night vision, he had already lost sight of the girl. Where did she go? He began to look everywhere. Toga. Where are you? He called her name. Hey, Izuku-kun, her voice came from behind. You noticed it, didn't you? He was sure she was ahead, then how? How did she manage to get at his back? Her tone had changed too. What are you talking about, Toga-chan? He played dumb without turning around. What gave it away? Hey, I'm seriously interested. Sigh, apart from you being drenched in blood essence. He turned around slowly. Your behavior didn't match the vibe you gave me. His eyes glowed through the darkness in a threatening manner. Her eyes widened in surprise, admiration, in glee. Her blush just expanded more. Your eyes are so beautiful. She exclaimed, shaking her arms up and down like a child who just found her new favorite toy. Thanks. Why did he thank her? She was dangerous, she was a villain. Did she do something to him? You know. You're the first one to notice my act. Toga couldn't hide her excitement. But I want to know so badly. Why did you follow me if you already knew? She tilted her head, though her smile never left it. Smile, I tried to blind myself to believe that you didn't hurt anybody. Izuku didn't want to think about something worse than hurt. Although, why was he smiling too? And I already told you I would feel bad to leave a girl alone, and now I don't want to leave you alone with anybody. Himiko launched at him and jabbed her left hand at his face. Izuku was able to grab her wrist and move it away, but then he felt something. It was pain on his right cheek. With a glimpse at her hand still in his grasp, he found a knife. So, he wasn't fast enough and got cut. TSK. He clicked his tongue, he was frustrated more at him than anything else. This was the worst situation to be tired due to extreme exercise. Toga chuckled when she saw the blood dripping from his cheek. She didn't seem bothered by her hand being held by him. "You're so cute, Izuku-kun," she shouted as she raised her right leg in the air and then let it fall at his head. He caught it with his free hand, leaving Toga in an awkward position. However, having predicted that, she stabbed her right. Midoriya threw her in the air as he moved backward, making distances between them. Another sharp sensation appeared on the left side of his neck, another cut was made. Miko twirled in the air, landed on her hands, and bounced to end on her feet. She had a knife in each hand. The girl began to bounce in place while she laughed. "This is so much fun," she exclaimed. Hey, Izuku-kun, let's be friends." This was a strange sensation, not that she suddenly wanted to be friends, no, that was not it. It was that he was so calm. Shouldn't he be trembling right now? He was having an encounter with his first villain. A vicious and crazy girl who didn't hesitate to take his life in any second. What was this? Why was he like this? "Smirk ya, let's be friends, Toga-chan," he responded. For the first time, genuine surprise and confusion were present on the girl's face, stopping her movement. After all, it was the first time someone answered positively to her proposal, and those gorgeous emerald orbs told her he wasn't lying. Everyone else just ignored it or gave her a negative. Not that it matters, they all became her friends in the end, but this was a first for her. So he continued. "Now that we are friends, could you lower your knife?" The big smile grew on her face, so that was what he was aiming for. Then she tilted her head a little. "But I refuse." Then the whole seriousness of the atmosphere died for Izuku. Well, wait, was that a JoJo reference? He dropped his posture and narrowed his eyes accusingly at the girl. The happiness on her face became 10 times bigger. "I can believe it. You're the first one to get it, Izuku-kun. We're best friends now." She couldn't hold herself. Izuku-kun was proving to be the best. She was having a blast. "Who's your favorite character?" "Mine is Dio Brando, I want to bet him." How strange, he regained his posture. "Mine is Jonathan Joestar." He finally understood what the sensation was. Adrenaline kicked in, muscles readied themselves, his heart beat faster. This was exciting. The excitement of finding a challenge, of finding a prey. He didn't fear her, a big feline cannot fear something that is not registered as a threat, though he should, he wasn't in top-notch condition, right? "As your best friend, I want to stab you, Izuku-kun. Would you let me? You would be so much cuter with your blood all over your body." She readied herself. "Sorry, but, as your best friend, I have to capture you and turn you into the police, Toga-chan." The claws of his hands began to extend. Miko couldn't smile wider. Honesty was the best, being yourself was the best, that's why she couldn't think of anything else than to draw the blood of Izuku-kun. How would it taste? How much cuter could he become? Without a doubt Izuku-kun was the best, no one could compare to him. She wanted to bet him. To Izuku, she was fucked up in the head, which was more than obvious. But even after her statement, he couldn't bring himself to hate or repulse her. For some reason he liked her more this way than when she was pretending to be innocent. He was just as fucked up in the head as her, and he didn't care much anymore. They both just accepted this relationship as the truth. It was as simple as that. Toga threw one of her knives at him. He simply dodged it, however when his eyes returned to her, she had simply disappeared. Where did she? He turned around just in time to grab the two petite hands with knives in them. "How did you know I was here, Izuku-kun?" "It's impossible not to smell the blood on you, Toga-chan," he answered. She kicked up, aiming at his chin, which he barely dodged, releasing her. She spun a little in the air thanks to the momentum of her kick and landed on her fore like a cat. "Hey, Izuku-kun, what's your favorite thing?" she asked with a smile. If they were friends, they should know each other better. Hatsuden and heroes. He jumped at the wall just to bounce at the other as he made his way to her, way over her head. "And yours?" He finally was behind her, so he launched himself at her. Cute stuff, and she jumped to the side at the last moment, though a cut appeared at her left cheek. Blood. Blood was spilled. Multiple cuts had been made around his body. His lungs burned and his muscles ached. Izuku had overextended his capabilities after already being in a weak state, he was losing strength. And his eyes were still focused on hers, emerald green met golden yellow. She had never gone to this extent, he was literally breathtaking, and even if he was as ferocious as her, he still was gentle, even now after pinning her against the concrete floor, even if he held her wrist to keep her immobile, it didn't hurt her. Yes, he had cut her with his claws occasionally, but it was inevitable in this game. It was the first time that she didn't feel like a predator, and she loved the sensation. Those eyes, those shining emeralds that never left her mind, were always on her, they didn't want to miss any of her movements, and she didn't want them to miss them. This was the best night of her life. "I can't win," Izuku stated. She just chuckled. From the cut of his right cheek, a droplet of his blood fell and landed exactly at the cut of her left cheek. Her eyes widened in pure ecstasy, the everlasting blush on her face got deeper. "Izuku-kun, look. We're mixing together," she exclaimed. It was like a kiss, but more intimate. He laughed weakly. The cuts on his body, though superficial, were more than he was comfortable with. Not only was he getting weaker due to being tired from the exercises, but due to blood loss. However, this wasn't the priority in his mind. What wandered in his mind was, why am I laughing at this? In a moment of carelessness, the tables were turned in a swift movement. Now it was Toga who pinned him down. It was just in the blink of an eye, and the worst of all was that he didn't care that much. "Because we are broken, Izuku-kun. You and me." Her tone was quieter, like a whisper. So, it was that he didn't try to fight it. He didn't even struggle from her grasp, not even when her face came down and moved to the cut in his neck. That was the cut that bled the most. Emiko opened her mouth and showed her big canines, though she didn't bite. Her warm breath felt pleasant against his skin. It was a nice contrast from the cold of an October night. Then, something wet made contact with his wound. She licked carefully, she took his blood into her body. It was her treasure, it was like water in a desert, it needed to be cherished. The catboy didn't struggle, not like any other of her previous friends. Toga didn't mind, Izuku-kun was unique after all. He was like her. It felt good, it was like a cat mom healing her kitten. Maybe it was the reason he wasn't against it, although he still had something to ask. "Toga-chan, are you going to kill me?" The licking stopped. She looked at him with motherly eyes. Then OP the blonde released his wrist and brought her hand to his cheeks, caressing them with her thumbs. She closed her eyes and touched his forehead with hers as she smiled. "This is the most fun I have ever had, it would be a shame to end it so quickly." Their faces were so close, they could almost kiss. It was then that something came to his mind, a desire, the answer to why he was like this, his choice and reason for becoming a hero. "I want to save her." Emiko's eyes shot open in surprise. Izuku-kun's arms were around her in an embrace. He was nuzzling his head against hers, he purred, but the only thing she could hear was, "You're not alone." Toga held her breath when she felt liquid coming out of her eyes. She took his arms away and jumped on her feet like Izuku was on fire. Toga stood there, trying to understand what just happened. His eyelids felt heavy, his vision was blurry, so he decided to close them, but that didn't matter. Why did she leave? He needed to comfort her. His ears caught something. It was the sound of a phone making a call. "Hello, I found a boy with multiple cuts on his body in an alley, could you send an ambulance?" The direction was hard to listen to. Who was it? Thinking became hard, he was losing it, he couldn't focus except for one thing: Toga. White. Everything was white when Izuku opened his eyes. It was the room of a hospital. How did he end up here? He looked at the side of his bed. There was a small green woman sleeping, the marks under her eyes told him enough. "Sorry, Mom, I didn't want to make you cry." His heart ached every time he found her like this. Inko's eyes began to open, just to be greeted with the emerald ones of her baby boy. "Izuku. Are you okay? What happened to you? How did you end like this?" As she bombarded him with questions, her eyes began to fill up with tears again. "Mom," that made her stop. He sounded so weak. "I'm okay." He gave her a reassuring smile, or at least he tried. Inko hugged him as she bawled her eyes out. After some minutes, she calmed down, but before she could ask a question she was interrupted by a knock on the door. It was a doctor. "Glad to see you're awake, Midoriya-san." He came closer and began to examine his condition. "It seems that there is nothing wrong with your condition. You got unconscious for 24 hours due to fatigue and blood loss, but nothing too serious. We have already administered a transfusion. Just a little rest and you will be like new." The doc gave him a professional smile, just to swipe it away a second after. "Unfortunately, that will have to wait. There is someone who needs to see you, Midoriya-san," he informed me. This got confused looks from the two green heads. "Understood, sir." Izuku accepted. "Great, wait a moment, please." The doctor left the room. A minute or so later, a man in a tan overcoat and matching hat came through the door. "Good evening, young man." "Madam." The man took his hat off and gave them a friendly smile. "I'm Detective Tsukauchi. I came to ask a few questions." He showed them his badge. Both Midoriya bowed a little and greeted the detective. "I'm sorry to ask this, ma'am, but could you give me a few minutes with your son?" Inko looked worriedly at her baby. "Don't worry, Mom. Everything is okay now," he reassured her. "Very well," Inko said while taking her to leave. "Thank you very much, ma'am. I'll be with you shortly after to ask a few questions as well," Tsukauchi informed her. He then looked at Izuku as he took a seat, pulling out a notebook. "Shall we begin?" Izuku nodded, cold sweat running down his temple. "This may sound strange, but I need to clarify something first," the detective said. "Did you use your quirk?" Izuku nodded. Was it in self-defense? Ah, so he needed to know if Izuku committed vigilantism. Izuku stood there thinking. The detective noticed this and readied his quirk. Human lie detector. Yes, it was in self-defense. The boy answered. Noticing that his quirk didn't go off made the detective a little bit surprised. Why would he take his time to say the truth if it wasn't a crime? Was he thinking of taking the blame? Why? Great. Okay, let's continue. After taking a few notes, he began with the next question. Do you remember the assailant? Izuku winced at that. He already knew this was going to come, but he wanted to save Toga. Should he play dumb or lie saying he didn't remember? Tsukauchi got worried. Maybe the boy didn't remember, or it was a painful memory. He was going to stop that section of the questions and jump to another for the sake of the boy. Her name is Himi. For a second, the one who felt being analyzed was the detective himself and not the other way around. Those eyes were judging him to deliberate if he was truly a good person. How a kid was capable of giving this impression just by looking at him was beyond his capabilities. Her teeth and canines are longer than normal people. Tsukauchi couldn't help but notice the monstrosity of a bite that this kid had whenever he opened his mouth to talk. She wears a school uniform with a red scarf and a beige cardigan over it. In the cardigan, she had multiple knives. Izuku continued answering every question with the truth. Thinking about covering Toga was now a far idea after all, it was never an option. He wants to save her, yes, but she was a villain. He wasn't probably the first one to encounter her, but probably the first one to escape alive. She was dangerous to everyone else, and a hero always puts the safety of everyone else first and personal matters second. If she gets captured then he could try to save her, although, dipping down he hoped he was the one who captured her. Minutes passed, and the questions were answered. The detective was going to take his leave, but something came to his mind. Oh, yeah. Do you remember who called Midoriya-kun? That took him by surprise. No sir. Why? Well, apparently the call was made from your cell phone. The man informed me. The eyes of the boy widened in disbelief. Any idea of who could have been? Probably her. Her? Tsukauchi asked, not knowing who he was talking about. Emiko Toga. Now was the detective who had his eyes widened in disbelief. An assailant who helped their victim. Not even in his wildest dreams, this would be a possibility. Why? He couldn't help but wonder out loud. Hope, I guess. Hope? Tsukauchi questioned, but when he raised his head to look at the boy in the face, he froze. Izuku's face was the happiest of smiles he had ever seen. Yes, there was hope to be able to save her, hope that it wasn't already too late. Something didn't match for the detective, though. He has already investigated who did the call, and he was told that the voice at the other side of the line was from a male, then why was this kid saying it was her? His quirk didn't go off, so the kid wasn't lying. It was something strange indeed. When Izuku tried to remember the voice he heard back then, that voice, it was his voice, maybe it was her quirk. He found himself wanting to know more about this eccentric girl. The 6th month came in November. The day was Saturday, which meant no school for the two heroes in training, which meant a whole day of training. It was noon, and both Izuku and Ejiro were on their way to the gym. Kirishima had been worried about his friend being assaulted by a villain, in fact almost everyone around the green boy was, but Midoriya reassured them that it wasn't going to happen again. That was enough for the red-haired boy. Well, at least today was a calm day. Boom. The great explosion startled the boys. What was that? Kirishima asked his friend. I don't know. Midoriya answered. They didn't even realize that they were already moving in the direction of the explosion. It was in a wide street, a multitude was already there, surrounding whatever it was happening. They both came through the multitude to finally see it. It was a villain assault. There were 4 villains, 3 males, and 1 female. The 3 males had mutant-type quirks, one had 6 arms, others had protuberances that looked like red crystals coming out of his body, and the last one had the appearance of a chameleon. The female, who appeared to be the boss, was more normal, with white hair tied into a ponytail. She was wearing a black outfit that resembles that of a kunoichi and leaves little to none to the imagination. She even had her panties for the world to see. Her quirk looked like it could produce a cloud of ash like dust. The heroes who were fighting them were low-ranked heroes, not well known by the people, but at least they were here to do their job, or at least attempt to, because the villains were preventing it. The problem? A burning building. Izuku couldn't help but think that it was too short of a time span for another case like this. The hero Backdraft was already on the scene doing his best to stop the fire. Unfortunately, with the other heroes being entertained by the villains, the people still in the burning building were at risk. We have to save. Kirishima raised his voice, already moving forward, but a hand on his right shoulder stopped him. He snapped his head at Izuku for trying to stop him, but froze in his tracks when he saw the smirk on the catboy's face. He smirked too at that. What's the plan? Ashinori Yagi was in the multitude, watching all of this unfold in front of his eyes. Damn it. He cursed in his mind as he clutched the left side of his abdomen. It was just noon, but he had already passed his time limit. He felt frustrated. Hey. What the fuck, kid? Yagi heard a man in the multitude yell. Hey. What are you doing? Another yell, this time from a woman, but it came from the same place. When Ashinori looked at what was all the commotion, his eyes widened. It was understandable that people would get pissed if out of nowhere they were splashed by water, but they didn't care. Izuku and Ijiro used the water bottle they had and poured the water over their heads, soaking themselves and their shirts wet. Sorry for littering. They both said as they dropped their empty bottles. Then, they both took their shirts off. Every female who looked at them got a mad blush when they saw their toned bodies. However, the two teens didn't pay attention to that. They tied their shirts around their faces, covering their mouth and nose. After that, they passed the yellow cordon, entering the danger zone. For some reason, they looked taller than anyone else from the multitude's perspective. Their eyes were cold. Even the villains and heroes stopped for a moment to look at them. It's that kid again. Dusty Ash recognized the catboy, a smirk forming on her face. Unfortunately, she didn't have time to play with him. Izuku raised his left fist in the air, Ijiro did the same with his right one. They dashed at the building immediately after bumping them. Everyone was frozen in place as they saw the two teenagers get closer and closer to the building and came back to reality when they entered that burning inferno. The multitude and Backdraft held their breath waiting for something to happen. Oppressive minutes later, both teens came through the same entrance with multiple people on their backs. They ran back to the multitude and then laid the victims on the floor. Then, taking a little distance from them, the catboy began to bounce and waved his hands. Hey Backdraft. We got a little dirty. Could you give us a quick bath? Midoriya said. You're not fooling anyone, kid, the pro hero screamed in his mind. Ah. With just a grunt, the water hero complied. He had no options. The moment they got wet, they ran back to the building. Minutes later, only the red-haired kid came out with more people on his back. Everyone began to worry about the other teen. Though, the spiky one didn't seem fazed at all for the absence of his friend. After putting the people in a safe spot, he jogged a little away from them. Hey Backdraft. I got burned a little. Could you? He was shot with water without even finishing his sentence. Thanks. He went back into the inferno, and just as he got to the entrance, his friend came out with more people. It became a cycle. Save people, give a lame excuse for water, go back inside, repeat. Those kids are crazy. A man from the multitude commented. No one could believe what was happening in front of their eyes. Smack. A sharp sound caught everyone's attention. Time to put some order here. Now, who has been a bad boy? A seductive voice made every male shiver. It's the 18+ only heroine, Midnight. A man screamed with a mad blush on his face, recognizing the new hero's arrival. Every single man began to cheer with the other boys. This couldn't get any better. Although, they didn't notice the derogatory looks thrown at them by the females. The heroine couldn't smile more sadistically at her fans' reaction. Who is going to become my boy toy for the day? He smacked her whip against the asphalt. Me. Pick me. A young man in the multitude answered, even though the question was for the villains. Fuck off, dude. I'm the meanest man around. I'm the one she's gonna pick. What did you say, punk? The men in the public began to fight each other. Ah, great. The bitchiest hoe has come. Dusty Ash commented with a scowl on her face. Hey, Duckface, how's it going over there? She talked through the communicator in her mask. Who are you calling Duckface, you bit? Gust Boy was interrupted by a voice in the background saying, just concentrate, boy, everything is done here, bitch. Just retreat. Roger that. The female villain smirked. Hey, boys. She called for the other villains. Remember our contract? Well, it has been terminated. As she was saying that, she began to cover herself with her quirk. Won't be seeing you later, retards. You bitch. The chameleon man swiped his tongue in her direction, just to hit nothing. I'm killing you, you fucking a pink mist began to surround the man. Seconds later he fell unconscious. It wasn't only him, but also his two partners, and even the low-ranked heroes who didn't know how to handle a situation with Midnight in it. Unfortunately, I can't play with any of you. There is another task at hand. Midnight said, as she turned around to face the blazing building. They are the last ones, right? Asked Kirishima while carrying an unconscious boy on his back. Yeah. Now get out. The structure is going to collapse anytime now. Midoriya responded with a little girl in his arms. They hurriedly made their way to the exit. With a smile they passed the light of the door, just to change their faces in horror when they heard the building collapsing at their back. They didn't need to turn around to look, the massive shadow cast on them was enough of an indicator. Backdraft. Ijiro screamed as he threw the boy at the water hero. Midnight. Izuku did the same with the girl in his arms. They both moved to save the last person. The only person in danger, they will save them at all cost. Izuku grabbed the red-haired boy by the shoulder. Ijiro did the same. A look of dread on their faces. Yes, the last person they needed to save was their brother at their side. How tragic it was when none of them moved an inch, they anchored their legs in order to throw their brother away, to save them at the cost of their lives if necessary. And now, due to their own heroic stupidity, their stupid way of thinking that everyone is helpless, now they'll both die for underestimating each other. Detroit smash with a roaring shout, a gust of wind swept away the falling debris over the two teens' heads, destroying the debris into tiny pieces and changing the weather, causing the heavens to rain and helping to put out the fire. Everybody was silent, admiring the intervention of the number one hero who came out of nowhere. Seconds later, everyone returned to their senses and began to cheer. The press has just arrived to witness it and of course, began to make their way to the heroes at the scene. Izuku and Ijiro could just let out a sigh at their luck and feel terrible at themselves for not trusting their brother to save themselves. The catboy noticed something. While the press just overwhelmed the symbol of peace, symbol covered his mouth to cough. The boy could swear he saw blood coming from All Might's mouth. His time is up, he screamed in his head. He made his way to him, readying his voice. All Might. Everybody turned in his direction. I heard there was another incident in Shinjuku. He may set his lie too far away, but the press wouldn't try to follow him. Now Izuku could only hope for his hero to take the hint of what he was trying to do. All might be taken aback at first, still remembering what he said to this kid all those months back. I see. He understood, it was his opening to get away. Then I have to check it out right away. Thanks, young Mito. Izuku screams internally. They weren't supposed to know each other. I mean, young man saving his sorry ass at the last moment, the N1 hero, crouched and jumped into the air. The press felt a little disappointed, but they couldn't do anything. Sigh now that I see him up close, All Might is a little clumsy. Izuku then turned to his red brother. We should go now. You're not going anywhere, kid. The voice of Backdraft startled the two teens. The water hero was with Midnight at his side. She didn't know much about the situation, but the other hero requested her help to deal with the problematic pair. Do you know how much trouble you two are in? The firefighter hero continued as he and the woman approached them. The ambulances had already arrived and began to attend to the victims, and the police were already making their way to get the villains. Actually. Izuku began to talk. Ijiro showed a smirk at this. We're not in any trouble, sir. What? You two jumped in action and risked your own lives. Even if it was for a good cause. Without a license, it's called vigilantism. The hero began to make his point across. You can only consider vigilantism if someone uses their quirk for their own benefit. And we, throughout the entire time, didn't use our quirks. And yes, we risked our lives, but it was our own decision. Besides, there isn't a law that says citizens cannot save others or fight villains. As long as we don't use our quirks, we can do pretty much anything that is not considered villainous. Oh, and before you tried to bring it up, we never obstructed your job. So, if you excuse us, my bro and I are going to cool ourselves up with some ice cream. Great job, Backdraft-san, Midnight Sun. After that, Izuku turned around and began to walk away. Damn, they should put you in jail for pulling that off, Ijiro commented as he began to laugh. Backdraft just turned at Midnight. Is that really legal? He asked in disbelief. I don't know. She was as surprised as him. And who could blame them? No one in the entire world was that crazy to try something like that without their quirk. Quirkless heroism in a world of quirks, who would have ever thought about that? Meanwhile, the police were arresting the criminals, but when they got to the chameleon guy, this one opened his eyes. He's been pretending to be passed out by holding his breath all this time. He was going to make a run for it, but then All Might showed up, almost making him shit his pants, and now he didn't have too many options. Ah. Whatever. He pushed the police officers away and pulled a pistol out of his pocket. If I'm going down, I'm going to drag at least one of the two bitches with me. Then he aimed at the 18+ hero. The two heroes were still stunned from what the kid said before, and their reaction time was slow. The villain took the shot. In an instant, a figure appeared in front of the heroine. The bullet just bounced off when it struck the figure, as if it hit a tank. The villain was going to take another shot, but a clawed hand was already slicing the pistol like it was made of cardboard. The knee found its way into the stomach of the criminal, leaving him without air, and, as fast as he had shot his now useless pistol, he found himself kissing the ground with someone pinning him down. We used what Izuku said in his head. Our quirks. Ijiro finished. They both acted without thinking. They both said at the same time and then looked at each other from their positions. They began to laugh. Minutes later, after the situation had been dealt with, the two teens found themselves with the two pro heroes again. So? What do you have for us this time, kid? Backdraft was hitting his right shoe against the ground repeatedly. We felt threatened so we acted in self-defense. Izuku said. They both were sweating bullets. The bullet was for me. Midnight intervened. She felt good seeing them like this, at her mercy. It filled her with thrill. So just because we know you didn't have bad intentions, we're not going to report, but you still need a punishment, Backdraft said, lessening their worry. Excuse me? Midoriya raised his voice. I was the one who came up with everything. Kirishima-kun just followed me. Just punish me alone, he doesn't have anything to do with this. The red boy was caught by surprise. I guess that's fair. Backdraft conceded, making the cat boy happy. Then I leave him to you, Midnight. Cough cough. Izuku choked in his own saliva when he heard who was going to apply the punishment. No, wait. This was a mistake. Alarms went off in his head. Smack. The sound of a whip was heard. It will be my pleasure. Midnight said with a sadistic smirk. Wait, no. Everything except this. Not a woman, please. Midoriya began to plead to the gods. His experiences with women had been nothing but disasters. Mei threatens his life on a daily basis with their babies, and that's without the time he became her teddy bear. Yubawami was cruel, and he could swear that he could feel her smug face right at his back, even though she was miles away from there. And lastly Toga, even if they bounded a little in a weird way, the girl was the definition of trouble. He was sure he could find a photo of her in the dictionary labeled to the world. Trouble. Midnight was the last person he wanted to add to the list. I'll make sure that you learn your lesson by thrusting it down until it reaches your core. She began to caress his right cheek. You seem like the type with a lot of stamina, so we'll have a great time together. I'm in danger. Something in me is in danger. Izuku screamed in his head. He couldn't count on Nico. She was already eating popcorn, waiting for her show to begin. I need an adult. He said nervously. I am an adult. Midnight answered with a smile while she grabbed his face by the chin. A hero. A hero. I meant a hero. I am a hero. She said again. The woman was enjoying herself a little too much. Izuku turned around in an attempt to escape, but the heroine was fast and tripped his feet with her whip. We should be going now. Midnight said energetically as she began to pull the teen from his tail. The boy in question pulled his claws in another attempt to resist, but the heroine was stronger than it looked. A feisty one, aren't you? Please keep struggling. I like it rough. Kirishima. Help me. As a last resource, he tried to telepathically communicate with his brother. Wait, Kirishima. Unfortunately, the spiky teen was crying and clutching his fist at how manly his bro was for taking all the fault upon himself, not paying him any attention. You're a true man, Midoriya. Midoriya, Midoriya. Kirishima was trying to get the attention of his friend, but to no avail. The catboy in question was looking at he wasn't really looking at anything, his emerald eyes were devoid of life. He has been like this since he returned from his punishment with Midnight. Slap. Ouch. What was that for? He returned after the slap in the face. You were out of yourself, also your ice cream is melting, Ijiro said. Shoot. 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 He began to lick his hand. You've been weird since you went to Midnight. Did something happen? He asked curiously. You don't want to know, Izuku responded with dread. By the way, why are you wearing a cat bell on your neck? You didn't have it before, did you? The red-haired boy asked more questions. That brought a memory to the green boy. If I find out you're not wearing my bell, I'll punish you 10 times harder next time I see you. My kitten. The voice of his new mistress echoed his head. After all, a collar with a bell on it meant ownership for cats. You seriously don't want to know? He said again with the same dread. Although the punishment was peculiar. He also saw the other side of the 18+ only heroine, Midnight. She really cared and was genuinely worried about him and his friend. He couldn't help but smile at the bell. But then he remembered he was found out by the Midnight boys and now he was on their blacklist. The dread returned to his face. Kirishima kept watching his friend. Midoriya, did you and Midnight have s? I am passing by like a normal person. All Might appeared behind a corner, startling the two teens. All Might, what are you doing here? Kirishima asked while Midoriya ate his ice cream to get his brain frozen and see if this was a dream or a nightmare. Fear not, young men. I have come here to cough. Coughing a great amount of blood, the N1 hero deflated. All Might, what have you? Izuku raised his voice in alarm, now knowing this wasn't a dream because All Might just showed himself to his friend. But the hero held his hand up, stopping his worries. It's okay, young Midoriya. I need him to see this. The symbol said. What happened to All Might? And why does he know your name, Midoriya? The red boy was trembling in disbelief. I can explain it, young Yagi trailed off. Ijiro Kirishima. Young Kirishima. The hero smiled. You see, the symbol of peace began to tell the young boy about his condition and how he met the catboy. Being that said, he turned to the green head. I'm sorry, young Midoriya. He bowed to the waist. I said mean things to you back then and didn't realize how much damage I caused you. Me, the one who claimed to be a hero, did that. I hope you can. I forgave you a long time ago, All Might. You said what you said to keep me safe, and those words you gave me that day, I took them to the heart. They have been helping me a lot on my journey. Thanks, All Might. Now it was Izuku who bowed. Sniff. They both turned to see the red boy who was crying. You two are so manly. Sniff. Well, that's not everything for why I came here. All Might said, ignoring the red boy. I saw everything. How two boys without their quirks shine brighter than anyone, putting their lives on the line while I was there being helpless. And when you saved Midnight, your bodies moved on their own, didn't they? The look of surprise on the boys' faces was all he needed to know that he hit the bullseye. There's something that's said about top heroes when they were still students. Most of their stories are linked by the following line. My body moved on its own before I could think. That way you too can become great heroes, maybe even greater than me. That's why I came today to offer one of you my quirk. He could see all the questions the boys had on their faces. Like quirk, something that many people have speculated about, it's called One for All. He explained to them about his quirk, what it could do. And now, I have decided that both of you are worthy. Unfortunately, only one of you can be my successor. I'll let you two, the candidates, decide by yourselves who should succeed. They both looked at each other. If we are both candidates, Izuku begins. Does that mean there is a possibility other people have been picked to succeed you, as well? I mean, we're talking about the quirk of the N1 hero, this shouldn't be rushed, right? All Might's eyes grew in surprise. Gran Torino told him the kid was smart, but not to this degree. You're right. There is one more candidate. The hero confessed. The kids looked at each other again, smiled, and nodded. Then before we give you an answer, we would like to meet the other candidate first, Izuku said. Yeah, it wouldn't be fair with them. Also, it would be very unmanly. Ijiro agreed. I see. Toshinori smiled at them, they were very mature for their ages. I'll contact a friend of mine and arrange a meeting. We should exchange contact numbers so I can inform you when it is going to happen. All Might pulled out his phone with a calm smile, though internally he was having a crisis. How is Sir Night-Eye going to react to this? Can I even bring myself to look him in the eyes? Then he saw the smiles on the two teens. No. I must face my mistakes for the sake of the future, even if he hates me. A week later. Ikai Kirishima-kun. Izuku called the name of his friend nervously. Well, what is me, Midoriya? He was just as nervous. We're in the UA. Midoriya whispered. I know. Ijiro did the same. They had been following All Might in his deflated form around to meet the other candidate, but they never expected to do it in the prestigious UA High. After wandering the corridors for some time, they stopped in front of a room. When the hero opened the door, the two teens were able to see two people that were already inside. One of them Izuku was able to recognize immediately. Sir Night-Eye. The elongated man was surprised to be recognized so easily. So, these two are the ones he picked. Let's see if they're truly worthy of being candidates. With analytical eyes, the former sidekick of the N1 hero began to judge the two kids. The other person in the room was another teenager, a little older than the other two. He had cowlick-style blonde hair, a very simple face, though an everlasting smile was there, which made him look friendly. He had a muscular build and some scars on his arms and was wearing the UA male uniform. Kirishima and Midoriya knew immediately that he was the other candidate. I have already explained everything to Mirio. The tall, slender man spoke. So, how are we going to do this? Well, All Might had no idea, this was never his plan after all. The eyes of the three teens met each other. And just like if they could communicate telepathically, they all nodded at the same time. Sir Night-Eye, Yagi-san. Izuku began to talk. Could you two leave us alone for some time? Yeah, we would like to do this by ourselves. Kirishima continued. I feel the same about this, sir. The boy named Mirio also added his opinion. The two adults could do nothing but comply, leaving the room for the boys. They waited outside, and this outcome of events was awkward, at least for All Might. Being along with Sir Night-Eye was definitely not in his plans. How have you been? Toshinori spoke, breaking the awkward silence. I've been good. How's your wound? The man responded. Good, I have learned to deal with it, Yagi answered. This is so awkward. What should I do? He was panicking. I'm sorry for how I acted last time, Sir Night-Eye apologized, surprising the hero. No, I should be the one apologizing. It wasn't fair to you. I acted harshly in the heat of the moment. I'm sorry. All Might lower his head. I do not hate you if that's what you're thinking. The tall man said with a mild smile on his face. The symbol of peace couldn't help but widen his eyes in disbelief. I'm also happy you decided to meet Mirio instead of just giving your quirk without thinking. Now All Might felt guilty, he was going to do just that. Actually those two were the ones who came up with the meeting idea. Sorry for being an idiot. Toshinori began to shake, waiting for the harsh words of his former sidekick. Yufufu I see. Sir just laugh a little. I wonder what they're doing. It has been at least 20 minutes since they left the kids. Me too. All Might responded. They both looked through the window of the door. They weren't prepared for what they found. The shirtless Mirio was swinging his shirt over his head like an over-energetic fan, while the shirtless Ijiro and Izuku had an intense arm wrestling match on the table. I hope they're not decide who gets one for all with that. Sir Night Eye spoke his mind while sweating nervously. All Might could only nod frenetically. Izuku was the one who came on top of the other two, Mirio was second, and Kirishima was last. After that, they went for a more even event. Rock paper scissors. The two adults just got more nervous. Kirishima came in first, Tagada in second, and Midoriya just had horrible luck. In the flexing muscles match, Mirio was the one who came on top, Ijiro was surprisingly good, but the blonde had more experience, and Izuku, let's just say it wasn't his forte. The three just talked, played, and laughed all the time like three jackasses, and the two pro heroes outside were now reconsidering their choices. An hour later, the three kids came out of the room and began to walk in the opposite direction of the heroes. They didn't notice the adults there. So, let's go to the arcade, Kirishima said. Oh, that sounds great. Can I bring a friend? Tamaki would like it. Mirio said with a smile. Of course, Tagada-senpai. The more, the merrier. Izuku was the last one to speak. Cough. The two adults coughed in their hands to get their attention. Did they really forget about One for All? The trio turned around cluelessly. Oh right, Kirishima spoke. Oh right. We didn't talk about One for All at all. His voice rose in alarm. Mirio and Izuku looked at each other with a smile on their faces. Yeah, I don't need it, Izuku said while waving his hand dismissing it, surprising the two adults and his brother. Yeah, I don't want it either. Mirio was next, and Sir Night Eye was the most shocked. What? But Mirio, why? The former sidekick could only ask. Because I want to show everyone that no matter what quirk you were born with, you can still achieve your dream through hard work. That's what you taught me, sir. It became my pride. Sorry to disappoint you, sir. Mirio apologized with his gaze on the floor. However, a hand placed on his shoulder made him look up. I could never be disappointed with you, Mirio. When you put it like that, it makes me proud. The tall man said with a tender smile. Eh? That left only a spiky red-haired boy. If you two declined the I2 smack before he could say anything else, the other two candidates smacked him on the back with everything they got. Don't be foolish, Kirishima-kun. A successor is still needed. Yeah, Midoriya is right, Kirishima. Besides, we're not declining for our own reasons. Just like Mr. Yagi, we're also putting our trust in you. Mirio said with a smile. We believe in you, Kirishima-kun. Now, show the world how manly you are. Izuku finished with a pleased grin on his face. The genuine tears falling from the face of disbelief of the red teen caught the other two by surprise. They began to stroke the red spikes like two big brothers soothing the little one. The two adults smiled at the scene. Though, something was bugging Sir Night Eye. Midoriya, right? He asked, gaining the attention of everyone. You said you don't need it. Why is that prayer told? Well, you see, Izuku explained to them his objective as a hero. Mirio, Ijiro, and Toshinori shared a confused expression. I did not understand what you meant, Midoriya. Kirishima voiced the thoughts of the other two. I see, then you certainly don't need it for that. Sir Night Eye said he had to admit this kid had potential. Wait. Sir, did you understand it? At the question of his disciple, the former sidekick nodded. Can you explain to us? Yeah, I also want to know, Toshinori said in agreement. The tall man gave a glimpse at the catboy. The kid was shaking his head in negation. Sorry, no can do. You should figure it out by yourselves, you three. Their disappointment didn't let itself wait. Another month came and went in the glimpse of an eye. Winter has come. Winter meant December, December meant Christmas, and Christmas meant discounts for mechanical parts. Onward, my trusty steed. Mei Hatsum exclaimed from the shoulders of her husband while he was carrying heavy bags on his arms. This is so embarrassing. Izuku couldn't help but blush madly. Every eye in the place was on them. They're so cute. A woman with sea green hair grabbed profusely the arm of the man at her side. Can we do that, Eraser? She asked. No. And I'm off duty, so don't call me that. The man said, cutting her petition right away. He had long black hair and looked like he hadn't slept in days. He also had a weird white scarf. Aw, come on. We're on a date. The woman continued. We ran into each other 5 minutes ago, and you refused to leave me alone. Don't call things for what they aren't. he answered harshly again. Emi was lucky he had his hands full or else he would have lost her 5 minutes ago. That was a good one, Shouda. The woman just laughed it off, as if it was some kind of joke. Thanks for everything, Izu. With these we can make so many babies, Mei said from her seat in the taxi. Of course, the taxi driver choked on his own saliva when he heard the last part. Yeah, don't worry, Mei. I'll stay. I want to buy something for mom. The pink head just nodded in approval. Can't tell her I'm buying something for her too. With Mei now gone, he started to walk once again on the cold night. At least he was wearing winter clothes. The couple was taking a walk through the town. It was the first Christmas for their newborn, so they decided to show him all the pretty lights. Although, this world is an unpredictable place. They ran into some friends, and that was all that fate needed, just one moment of them taking their eyes out of their baby. With an innocent laugh, the newborn began to float up in the air from his stroller. The baby has manifested his quirk. When the mother looked back at the stroller, her eyes widened in horror when she didn't find her most precious treasure there. She looked around frantically until she heard the cry of a baby over her head. She almost lost consciousness when she looked up. My baby. She cried, startling everyone around. In a short amount of time, all the people gathered around. Some in shock and horror, others tried to soothe the distressed mother, saying that heroes would save the baby, who was still going up and up. Damn it. It is already too far up to get it with my capturing weapon. Eraser cursed in his head. Should he wait for another hero who could do the job? The temperature is too low, and the baby just keeps getting higher. If it continues, not only is it going to get harder to breathe, the baby is at risk of getting hypothermia. No, he couldn't wait. Emi, take my stuff. Without even waiting for confirmation, he shoved the bags on the woman's arms. But before he could run for it, something else caught his eyes. A few minutes before. Izuku was one of the people there. He was looking down, clenching his fists. I feel so sorry, I wasn't able to act faster. He was being harsh on himself, even though it wasn't his fault. Where are the heroes? He looked around in desperation, trying to find anyone who looked remotely like a hero. If only I could do some looking up. His eyes met the baby, and everything around him stopped. The image of Nico trapped in that tree all those years back overlapped the baby. Hey. What's wrong with you? A man complained when someone pushed him from behind. When he looked, he found a green catboy taking his shoes in a hurry. Hey kid, what are you? Before he could finish, the kid jumped in the air and landed on top of a streetlight in a crouching position with his 4 limbs. It was like a real cat. Hey kid, come back down, another man yelled, thinking the kid just wanted a better position to look at, but when he met those emerald orbs, the words in his throat just came to a halt. Those eyes were completely focused on the baby far, far up. Nothing else matters for those eyes. Shouda's awe was stopped in his tracks to see the catboy on the light. If he knew the eyes of a cat as well as he did, then he already had an idea of what the kid was going to do. And just as he predicted, the kid jumped at the building closest to him. Acting fast, Eraser threw his capture weapon at the kid. The last thing he wanted was another life on the line. However, just for a second that nobody seemed to notice except for him. The eyes of that catboy turned in his direction, and again, knowing the eyes of a cat as well as he did, the message was loud and clear. Don't get in my way. The underground hero couldn't see when his captured weapon was cut. Even with multiple years of experience, he just saw the pieces falling to the ground. Shit. Eraser had exclaimed madly. Not losing time asking himself how the fuck his weapon was cut, he ran at the same building, the tallest hotel in Musatafu. Without a care in the world for collateral damage, he entered through a window. Screw those rotatory doors. He didn't lose his momentum and continued running in the direction of the elevators. Pressing the button and calling one of the 4 elevators. The one that was 4 floors below in the parking lots. He opened the door with his hands without waiting for the elevator to arrive and threw his capture weapon at the cable that was moving up, getting propelled by it. He wouldn't stop moving until he reached the top of the building. This was now a race, and the goal was 40 floors above. Meanwhile, in one of the rooms of the hotel, a man that just finished taking his bath went to the large window. What's all the commotion outside? The man asked as he approached it. He was not prepared when he looked down. A green blur passed outside the window, scaring the man and making him fall on his butt. Well, what was that? This is the 10th floor. Izuku was moving fast, or at least as fast as he could. The catboy was jumping from the notches in the windows. It wasn't as fast because he needed to stop to have a better grasp to jump correctly. However, his eyes never looked at where he was going for more than a second. They were always on the floating baby, on his objective, on his prey. His drive to save people and his natural instincts made a weird combination, but that didn't matter, not now. What mattered was that his prey was getting away faster than what he was moving. He wouldn't get to the baby in time. His eyes darted at the side of the hotel to the other building next to it. The gap was narrow enough. Then the image of that old geezer known as Gran Torino came to his mind. Midoriya had already used that technique with Toga, but it wasn't as fast as Grandpa. Could he do it? Was a question that never appeared in his mind. Maybe it was the bad influence of May, but he had already lost the capability of questioning the if, and he just did whatever was on his mind. He ran through the wall, defying the law of gravity, and making his way to the corner of the building. He began to jump from wall to wall, each time faster than the last. With this he could make it, he just had to ignore how badly his feet were starting to hurt. All the spectators couldn't believe what they were seeing. A kid that was probably not even in high school yet was escalating a building from the outside at a speed that it was even hard to keep track of. Meanwhile, in another section of the city, a news helicopter was flying around, looking for something that would get them views. It was the first day of work for the young female reporter, and she would be damned if she didn't find something good. Izuku did his final jump, getting on top of the building at last. Falling, and rolling on the rooftop. Cough pant he had used too much of his energy to get here, but the job was not done yet. He got up on his trembling feet. When Nico told him he was going to strain his legs using Gran Torino's technique, she wasn't kidding. With a determined look, Midoriya swiped the saliva dripping from his mouth. The precipice in front of him was too large, the distance to the building in front was at least 20 meters, separated by a large street of vehicles going at high speed. Although, again, he wasn't thinking if he could do it. The only description for his plan was suicidal and stupid, but he didn't care. Someone needed to be saved, that was all that mattered. The boy took off his winter jacket and held it in one hand. That baby must be cold. Then, he waited for his signal, he waited for the baby to appear in his sight. Izuku heard the cry first any second now. When he saw it, the concrete beneath his feet cracked at the force he used to propel himself forward as he began to run. At the same time, the rooftop door was opened with a kick from the underground hero, Eraserhead. "Kid, wait." He shouted, it was all he could do at this point. Aizawa had lost the race. With all his remaining strength, Izuku jumped. He caught the baby with his jacket and wrapped the newborn with it. It was unfortunate that he lacked the strength to make it to the other rooftop, even if this one was 5 floors lower than the one he just jumped from. He just barely missed it. "I need to anchor myself," he shouted in his mind as he held the baby with one hand and stretched the claws of the other, nailing them in the concrete of the building. It was tragic that gravity was against him. The catboy screamed in pain as he slid through the wall. He took his hand off the wall because of the pain. The skin and flesh of his fingertips were gone, and the worst was that they were still falling. Again. With more. He shouted the order to himself, this time extending the claws from his feline feet too. He nailed his 3 limbs and endured it. The slide marks that he left in the wall were stained with blood, though he never let go. At last, he came to a halt. It was unfair that there were still 25 floors left on the ground. The helicopter arrived at the scene. The female reporter began to narrate the information she got from the studio to the camera. Apparently a baby just awakened his quirk some minutes ago. It seems the quirk can make him float, which made him move up in the air without a stop. No hero was at the scene when this happened, and this made a kid, a teen not much older than 15, jump into action. And now, this young man is stuck on the side of a building. This is without a doubt, a dire situation. The teen has green hair, and for what we can see, his mutant-type quirk gives him cat-like features. Mei Hatsune heard the voice of the reporter through the radio of the taxi. Her unique eyes grew in horror as she recognized the description of the teen. She immediately pulled out her phone to look at the live transmission, her heart almost stopped when she confirmed her fears. Crash. A plate full of rising fell to the ground from Kirishima's hands when he saw what was happening through the TV in his house. Izuku. Inko screamed her son's name as her legs faltered and tears began to fall from her eyes. This had to be a nightmare. What was on the TV must be a prank of some sort. Damn it. Move faster. Death Arms has never wished so much in his life to suddenly change quirks with Ingenium. He had seen it from one of those big screens in the side of a building while patrolling, and now was making his way to the scene, even if he knew he wouldn't make it in time. Ubawami and Midnight stopped whatever they were respectively doing and gave their utmost attention to the screen they were looking at. "You stupid dumbus. Why didn't you learn your lesson?" They both thought the same. "What the fuck is Deku doing there?" Kitsuki yelled, extremely pissed as he was holding the TV in his face. "I swear I'm going to kill." "Out of the way, dumbus. Dunce meat is not see-through." Mitsuki kicked her son in the face, throwing the explosive boy to the side. She went back to the sofa with her husband, who was praying for Izuku's safety. What will happen to these poor? The reporter was stopped by a sound. Even with the blades of the helicopter still moving, a certain sound made its way to her ears. It was a soothing melody, and it was coming from the catboy. Is he pulling the baby? The reporter couldn't believe the kid was seriously doing that in a situation like this. For some reason, her heart began to hurt. She didn't know it was the same for every viewer that was watching. For Izuku, the top priority was the baby in his hand. He didn't want him to get a trauma from this experience, so he did what came to his mind. He couldn't do much either way. He was tired, his lungs burned, his fingers were bleeding, and hurt like hell. He couldn't move or else he risked falling again, and he didn't think he could stop it once more. He bit his lips when he slid a little, bringing more pain to him. His blood was making this harder. Midoriya had limited time now. His head turned to the helicopter. "Please help us," he requested, startling the reporter and her team in the flying machine. "But we are not heroes," she said in shock. "Only heroes save people, and they weren't them. They couldn't do it." The face of the catboy winced a little, as if he could hear her from where he was. "Then at least save the baby." His shout echoed through her ears. It was so desperate. "Please. I'm slipping due to my blood. In any second, please, at least the baby." Every single person who was seeing the transmission felt something. Their body twitched, bounced, jumped or did something from their seat or wherever they were. Everyone didn't know why, they just felt it. That charge of electricity running through their bodies. They didn't know what that was, they just felt the need to save that kid and that baby in front of them. Hiroshima's body hardened out of nowhere, even though he was still in his house. Bakugo's palms made sparks. He was ready to jump at that television. The channel of the transmission had a live chat to hear in real time the opinion of their viewers, but now that chat was filled with the same two words from everyone. "Save them." The eyes of the reporter grew in realization. "Jitsu-san." She shouted the name of the pilot. "I'm already on it," the man shouted back. The aircraft came close, but there was still 7 meters between them and the boy. "What happened?" "Get closer," the reporter screamed in frustration. "Sorry, but I cannot do that. If we get closer, we may crash against the building," the man answered apologetically. The woman gritted her teeth. She opened the door, letting all the wind enter. "Jump," everyone screamed. Izuku prepared himself. He had one opportunity. If he failed, they were dead. His muscles hurt to the point he thought they were going to fall, but that didn't matter. He just had to do it. Then he jumped. Unfortunately, the wall was more slippery than he thought. He didn't have a good grasp to jump, he wouldn't make it, and it was clear for everyone who saw it. In the middle of the jump, one of his hands just moved abruptly. In the next second, the female reporter found herself with the baby in her arms. It was as if he had always been there. Then, she remembered the teen who was still in the air. Her face snapped back up and froze. A smile. That's what she meant. The best and most happy smile she had ever seen in her 25 years of life. Something humid ran down her cheeks. How can someone smile like that in a situation like this? That smile was transmitted through the camera. The world literally froze for a moment. Everybody watching thought the same. That he was happy to have saved the newborn. Yes, everyone thought that, except for those who knew the kid at a personal level. For those few selected people, that smile was telling them something different. It told them goodbye. Izuku, Midoriya, Deku, Inko, Mei, Ijiro, and Katsuki screamed at the same time. Death arms fell to his knees, watching the whole thing through another screen, tears already falling from his eyes. Ibuwami and Midnight turned off their TVs, not wanting to see more. They already had trouble breathing properly. Time began to move again, and Izuku began to fall. Meanwhile, in the hotel from where the catboy jumped, a window was broken on the 15th floor. Shouda hasn't given up. Calculating the boy's trajectory, he threw his capture weapon once more. He extended it completely to reach the kid. And yet, it fell short because that stupid catboy had cut it beforehand. The hero hated this, he hated this day, he hated this situation, and especially, he hated that idiotic kid who just made everything worse. Eraserhead didn't know if he could hate a cat until today, and the answer was yes, he could, with every fiber of his body. Izuku continued falling. His body was looking at the sky. The riding reflex did nothing. He was going to die no matter what, but at least I saved someone. He closed his eyes, and the images of everyone he knew came to his mind. Sorry for going so early, thanks for this amazing quirk, Nico. Don't be so full of yourself. This isn't over yet, Izuku.her voice echoed in his mind. Out of the way. The ground began to tremble. All the spectators made room as a gigantic figure ran past them. Stretching her right hand, the giant was able to catch the fallen kitten. At the last moment, Mount Lady was able to save the day. It wasn't just Izuku who came to life, but everyone else as well. Even Shouda. The underground hero was a relief, but now that everything was okay, he wanted to punch that kid in the face so badly. Whatever, he calmed down. He is not my problem anymore. Yeah, he didn't need to get so worked up. He won't see that kid ever again after all, right? Mount Lady got up with the kid still in her hands. Phew, that was really close. I didn't count it for a moment, she said lazily with a deadpan face. Izuku was panting frantically on her palm. Then she looked at her catch. Huh. Wow, you're so cute with my gigantification activated. She began to rub the kid's belly, coochie. For her, it was just like rubbing a kitten. For Izuku, why is she doing this? His face was burning. And why does it feel so good? His mom had done this before and it didn't feel like he was going to melt. Well, you see, Nico spoke in his mind. Even if you already had given up, your body didn't. You pumped a lot of adrenaline just now, readying yourself for the impact, and when you were saved, not only that adrenaline didn't go away, you felt so relieved that you also released dopamine. With these two in your body, your senses were amplified. You're now 10 times more sensible, and because of her touch you're now aroused. What? He screamed in alarm. Not in a sexual way. For a cat, being aroused means a lot of different things. She immediately calmed him down. And to answer why is she doing this? Those hormones also amplified your cuteness. That doesn't make any sense. He tried to play it cool and pretend he didn't just moan. Hey, I don't make the rules, okay? You were already cute before I came in. And we, cats, are super cute. We are the lords and rulers of the internet due to our cuteness. After all, the internet began with us and is going to end with us, and this ability has also been transferred to you through my quirk, so use it wisely. With great power comes great responsibility. Nico finished her explanation. Now, this is the other side of the spectrum of your instincts. Let's see how well you can endure them. Mount Lady continued to play with the kid until she came back to her senses. Oops, sorry, don't know what came into me. She said with the same fake innocent smile she gave to any man to get free food. Shit, I hope he doesn't think this is sexual harassment. Her thought was cut when she felt something holding her index finger. Huh? She looked at her palm again. The catboy was holding her finger tenderly like a baby. His face was covered by a cute tone of pink, while teary eyes looked at the finger apologetically. More, and he failed miserably controlling his instincts this time around. Mount Lady felt as if a lightning just struck her, paralyzing her in the spot. Hey. Mount Lady. A police officer called the heroine from the ground. An ambulance is on the way. Can you put down the kid? No need. I decided to take the kid to the hospital myself. She answered without turning around. But the ambulance. I'll be faster than the ambulance, so don't worry. Her head snapped at the officer and a creepy smile was on her face. Not waiting anymore, she began to walk while rubbing something on her hand. Okay, the officer couldn't argue anymore. Why was her nose bleeding? Did she hit it while catching the kid? The man asked his partner, who just shrugged. Maybe she is really dedicated to her job. What they didn't know was that the heroine also needed to go to the hospital for some insulin to make sure she wasn't going to get a heart attack from cuteness overload. Izuku woke up in a hospital bed again. Hope this doesn't become a habit. He began to look around and found the pro heroine on a sofa while looking at the TV. The people in it were talking about the incident. She was also eating something. Okay, now I hate her, Nico said in his head. Why? She is eating your food. The food that the doctors brought for you. Who does she think she is? The feline sound pissed. I'm not that hungry, so don't worry. He responded. You don't understand. Food for us, felines, is our pride and joy is our throne and she is usurping it. That logic is hard. Oh. That's me. And they got my greatest assets too. Neat, more fans and money for me. Mount Lady said excitedly when she saw herself on the TV. Izuku covered his mouth as he began to laugh. She is like a little kid. She turned around to see the kid, he was laughing for some reason. You're awake. The young woman stated the obvious while giving him a smile. She was glad he was okay. You went unconscious for a few hours, so the doctors told me to watch over you while your mother is on the way. His face twitched at the mention of his mom. Now he felt guilty. Oh yeah, the family of the baby came by. Munch. They came to give you their thanks, but you were out of it. It was really touching. Gulp. She was eating while talking to him. Not really touching when you say it like that, Izuku complained with a deadpan face. Also, you should take a look at your phone. It kept ringing for quite some time. I almost smashed it for being so annoying. She murmured the last part. She didn't really think he could hear her. He could hear her just fine. This woman really the hero who saved my life. The impression of Mount Lady over the boy was dying by the minute of very slow death. The boy just sighed and tried to ignore her and what Nico was saying about her in his mind. He reached for his phone over the table next to the bed, noticing his bandaged fingers. Sighing again, he took it. There were a lot of missed calls and some messages. He went for the messages. Okay, the first one is from Kirishima, let's see. Kirishima, when I get one for all, I'm gonna use my first punch on you. Well, that was terrifying. Next was from May. May Izu, our next baby is going to be a torture machine and I need you to test how effective it is. See you next Saturday. Okay, now he needed to check he didn't need a new change of pants. The next one was from Kaken. Wow, he hasn't written to him since ever. Kaken, you should have told me you wanted to fly that badly. I'll send you to the stratosphere next time I see you. Fucking nerd. Was the capital letter really necessary? Okay, calm down, I can deal with this somehow. The next was from Death Arms. Death Arms. You're gonna wish that Mount Lady didn't save you the next time I see you, Dumbus. Okay, he lied, he cannot deal with this. And the worst part was that there were 3 more messages left to go. The next was from Oh No. Mistress Midnight, I see that my little kitten wasn't trained properly. We're going to have so much fun together. I'll make sure to mark it carefully on your body. There was also a photo of her licking her lips. Izuku was sweating bullets. He didn't feel so good anymore. The next message was from an unknown number. Unknown. I see the Death Arms wasn't harsh with you. I'll have to take it into my own hands to get the point across, that thick skull of yours. I'll show the world how insignificant you really are, boy. Waited Wami, how did she get his phone? Did Death Arms give it to her? Now the poor kid was shaking in fear. The last message was also from an unknown number, as well. Sigh, let's get this over with. Unknown. No. No. I'm the only one allowed to push Izuku off a building. Okay? I don't want your blood to go to waste if I'm not there. Okay, how did Toga get his name? Oh, wait, she used his phone to call the ambulance back then, never mind. Was it weird that her message was the least unsettling and terrifying out of all of them? Maybe he really got something wrong in his head. Izuku let out a sigh as he laid down on the bed. He couldn't help but smile. So many people were worried about him. The boy hated himself for thinking he could just take his death for granted. I'm truly sorry. Meanwhile, a doctor came to inform Mount Lady that she could leave already. The mother of the kid was in the lobby. Okay, then that's it for me. She got up. See you around, kid. She waved her hand as she walked to the door. Wait. Izuku stopped her. Am I not in trouble? The woman tilted her head, not really understanding the kid. I mean, I used my quirk, shouldn't I be punished? Oh, that. I really don't care that much for something like that. She answered uninterestedly, but still saw doubt in the face of the kid. Listen. You were able to save a life, right? The kid nodded. And you're also fine. I don't see why you should be punished. Yes, you broke the law, but it was for a good cause. And you seem to understand the gravity of your actions. So, seriously, just chill out. If you really want to be punished, go to the police station yourself, okay? After that, she turned around to leave. Wait. He stopped her again from doing so. Listen, kid. My patience is not that great. You're cute, but don't push your luck. She began to lose her temper. No, it's just his indecision started to rub her the wrong way. She began to tap her right foot furiously. Is there anything I can do to repay you for saving my life? Then she groaned in annoyance. No, I don't need anything. She stopped mid-sentence as a creepy grin appeared on her face. Actually, now that you insist so much. A shiver ran down Izuku's spine. He had just made a mistake. When will he learn that he and women are not a good combination? Thanks for watching my video, and make sure to check out the author of this fanfic, link is in the description. See you next time.